Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Got to imagine the Colts players and their fans maybe a little dizzy in the head, a little whiplash. One day you got a starting quarterback. The next day it's somebody else. The next day it's somebody else. And now it's somebody else. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So just as recently as Monday, Pearl, Shane Steichen had said, no, Joe Flacco is still the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. As of yesterday, that is no longer the case. It's now back to Anthony Richardson. Whoosh,
well, not just that.
whiplash.
He's added the details when he made Flacco the start. He's like, don't be fooled. This is for the season.
Right.
And then on top of that, he goes, yesterday he said, Anthony Richardson, this is for the season.
For the season.
Why are we supposed to take him seriously when he says that? Who's the third string guy? Maybe he'll get in.
Does he know how long the season is?
Yeah, I don't know. So apparently Shane Steichen's words mean nothing,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, that's not the end of the world. I do think the interesting question is who gives the Colts a better chance to win? Because I saw Joe Flacco kind of blow the game against your Bills on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. He was not good against the Buffalo Bills, and that final score was not even as close as the game seemed, and it seemed like a blowout. The problem is with what Shane Steichen is doing, and just because the Colts may be a smaller market team or whatever, make no mistake, this is an epic disaster for a head coach. You are sending every mixed message possible to your team because, Perloff, when you benched Anthony Richardson the first time for Joe Flacco, it was because you thought you were a playoff team.
Right.
Now Joe Flacco didn't play well. So now you're going back to Anthony Richardson. So what are you now? Now you're a developmental team, or now you're a playoff team, or what am I supposed to think if I'm in that locker room? And it's one of the boneheaded messaging and decision-making things we've seen this year in a league that sometimes can be riddled with things like this. But you're right. The idea that they would say Flacco for the season, he has 2 bad games. Now it's Richardson for the season, even though you know Richardson's more of a developmental product. And
I don't think that's really exactly what's going on.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a huge coin flip. What's better, a guy who can actually pass the ball or a guy who's going to run like crazy? Because I think that they think, hey, Anthony Richardson has won a lot of games here because he's fairly conservative. He never completes a pass. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
Like, you can win where you're just going to run with Anthony Richardson. Like, they tried the open it up Cleveland Browns 2023 style with Flacco.
Yeah.
That didn't work. So now they're just going to just pound the football and try to win that way. I don't think...
When you say win a lot of games, you mean 5. Anthony Richardson is 5-5 in his career as a Colt.
Yeah. But I mean, it's better than Flacco with the Colts. So no, I mean, like Anthony Richardson is completely undeveloped and still walks away with a W sometimes because of his ability to run the ball. So I do think Jonathan Taylor is obviously the star of that offense. He's better when Anthony Richardson's there because the defense has to watch Richardson. So I think that they're like, well, you know what? We're not going to really pass the ball consistently, but we can get some first downs on the ground and win that way. So it's totally a style choice here. And Shane Steichen won that way with Jalen Hurts, a young Jalen Hurts in Philly. So I think that I don't think it was just about developing Richardson. I'll bet you Jim Irsay did call and say put Richardson back in.
Yeah.
But I think Steichen's like, okay, you know what? We tried the Flacco way. It didn't work. Let's try just try this other way where we're only going to throw the ball 20 times a game, but we're going to try and control the ball on the ground. Don't you think that would have been better against Buffalo? Honestly, Richardson would have been better against Buffalo because Flacco kept putting the ball in harm's way.
Perloff, you're absolutely right, which is why on Monday we came in and said, why aren't they giving the ball to Anthony Richardson on short yardage downs? I watched Joe Flacco on a 4th and 1 get sacked with like not even a prayer of getting the ball out.
But he also threw a pick on 1st and 10.
Right. So
I would say, go conservative. Go with Anthony Richardson.
But Anthony Richardson has also thrown 7 interceptions already this year in 6 games. So
it's a problem.
It's a problem. And again, this is such backwards, coaching, footballing, decision-making, everything. And you've got to be wondering, who's in charge here and who's making these decisions? Because here's the other point. Why does it have to be so absolute every time? Mm-hmm. Because this is like coaching messaging 101. don't back yourself, don't tie yourself into something. You see how Mike Tomlin went through that whole preseason and season with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
If we went back through those transcripts, he never once ever commits before like more than 24 hours out of who's going to be the quarterback, basically, and kept everything up in the air. So that when Justin Fields eventually was benched for Russell Wilson, it didn't feel like Mike Tomlin looked like a hypocrite. Now it looks like Shane Steichen looks like a hypocrite here because he doesn't know what's going on.
What possible difference? Like, what's the difference what a coach says in a press conference? It means nothing. All that matters is what's on the field.
Well, I think it matters to the players because I do think Flacco versus Richardson, in my opinion, sends two very different messages. Because Anthony Richardson came into the league as a project.
Right.
We knew that. He had almost no college experience whatsoever, was a 13 starts, almost nothing.
Right.
And it was like, all right, everyone's going to grow with Richardson. It's going to take a little time. You switch to Flacco, you're telling everybody, now this is playoffs. There's no other reason to have a 40-year-old Joe Flacco back there unless you think you make the playoffs. So now you're week 11, and now you're going to say, all right, we're going back to Richardson, and we're just going to roll with the second-year guy, and it's just going to be the bumps and bruises. Like, it doesn't – why does it have to be all of one or all of the other? Why couldn't you have Anthony Richardson for some packages? I'm not saying dual quarterbacks. I'm just saying – see where it goes.
That makes no sense either. You're saying the Chris Leak and Tim Tebow in Florida? Like, this is the NFL. You're not playing two quarterbacks. No. You have to. I think your read is wrong on this. I don't think it's like we're waving the white flag. We're putting Anthony Richardson in because I think Flacco was bad. And they're like, all right, Richardson cannot complete a pass. That's true. But what he does do is he runs, and then he'll have a random 70-yard bomb to Alec Pierce. I think they think, and also the Colts, after they get past these next two games, the Colts' schedule gets really easy. Anthony Richardson could probably beat a New England Patriots. Like, it's not going to look pretty, but they're going to be a run team first. I think that they think, okay, I think Anthony Richardson might give us a better chance to win than Flacco. So I don't think it's like the team's going to give up because Richardson's in there at all. You're describing a situation where it's like, oh, let's put in the rookie. We know he has no chance, but we have to develop him. Like when Eli Manning came in for Kurt Warner as a rookie in Giants. Like, do you really think? Like, I really think Anthony Richardson would have been better against the Bills.
Okay, but Anthony Richardson was bad against what led to his benching was a lot of his play. But that's not all that maybe led to the benching. Let's hear from the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, it's Shane Steichen. He said that Anthony Richardson has also grown a lot in the 2 weeks. Guys, this has all been in 2 weeks that he's been benched.
I want to address, Anthony's situation. I've said the process for a long time. And what I mean by that, it's the attention to detail in everything he does, from the classrooms to the walkthroughs to practice to the weight room, all those little things, right? It just got to be at a higher standard. And that's what was talked about. And that's where we went with it. And so that was discussed with him 2 weeks ago. And those are the conversations that took place. And over the last 2 weeks, he's made strides in those areas, big-time strides, becoming a pro's pro. And is he a finished product? No, he's not. And it's my job to help him get there along with the rest of the coaching staff. But he's a hell of a talent. Like I said, we've never lost faith or belief in him and his abilities.
Okay, so we remember what the real, I won't say nail in the coffin, but the thing that led to the coach benching Anthony Richardson, and for a lot of people, I think, was him taking himself out of the game because he said he got tired, right? And that was against the Houston Texans. That was 3 weeks ago. So now you have Shane Steichen telling you there was a maturity aspect to this, right? There was hey, you kind of have to get benched for a second because we don't think that you're up to the standard. What do you say? In the weight room, meetings, like everything. Classroom. He's just not doing enough. Here's my question. How much of a change can you really expect in 2 weeks? I mean, maybe this scared Anthony Richardson to a point where, oh my gosh, I might be out of here, or I might not ever get a starting job in the NFL again. Maybe he saw like his football quarterback mortality or something, and it's a scared straight sort of thing. But isn't that a lot to ask for someone for a 2-week break? Now you're going to come in this totally different person. I think that's also putting a lot of pressure on a young guy.
I mean, all these things like pressure and all. Honestly, this is Steichen. This is his job. Like, they play the Jets this weekend, right? Like, I do not want to see Anthony Richardson throwing that ball anywhere. Just like hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, bootleg right, Anthony Richardson, you run. Hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor. I think they said, like, okay, we have these really good receivers. Let's get Flacco in there. That was not working. They're gonna get very, very conservative. And as far as the messaging, like, you're pros in the locker room. Like, this is your job. Like, what the heck have you won in Indy? Like, you better. Nobody on that team is safe. So everybody has to give 100%. Like, they can't be like, oh, well, our messaging at all?
Well, we didn't say for the season.
He screwed that on up.
And he said it. He doubled down. You give way too much of a pass for people whose part of their job is to talk into a microphone.
But that is literally the single least important job of a head coach's job. I mean, like, it does not matter.
They've also
what
lost 3 in a row.
Right.
So they're not doing great on that front either. Now, granted, that's been 3 teams they've played that have been above 500 teams. They lost to Houston. They lost to Minnesota. They lost to the Bills. Now they're going to face the Jets this weekend in Detroit. In Detroit.
They have
what am I talking about? In New York. Then next week it's home for Detroit.
They have the third easiest schedule, according to Warren Sharp, moving forward. So they have a lot of wins on the table. Wins that even Anthony Richardson completing 44% of his passes could come away with. It's going to be a grind, but I think this is a challenge for Steichen. How do I win with this guy? The other thing is, how do you keep him healthy if he runs? So, by the way, you think you've seen the last of Joe Flacco, then you haven't been paying attention. No. You and I say that all the time. Like, how many runs can Anthony Richardson lower his shoulder into a guy?
I'm just telling. I think you're being super generous on them. It's a tough situation because Richardson is so raw, but that's not new. Steichen didn't just get here. He was there with him last year. Yeah. He gets hurt. They have to go to and cobble together a backup situation. Gardner Minshew ends up coming in, and they barely missed the playoffs. They knew exactly what they were getting into coming into the season, which is why they got a high-end backup in Joe Flacco. Turns out Flacco might have found the edge and fallen off of it. But I think that you're giving them too much grace in a situation that both on the field and off feels self-inflicted. You knew that there was going to be bumps in the road with Anthony Richardson. So you're either staying with him or you're not. And now to go to Flacco, then 2 weeks later, say we're going back to Richardson, but
what difference? There's no way. Listen, if Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, got a hold of Anthony Richardson, he would have tormented him. So that would have been a loss to Minnesota. And Buffalo is one of the best teams in the league. Probably Richardson wouldn't have won that game either. I'm not sure.
There were a lot of people who picked the Colts in that game, by the way, and I think some of them are sitting in the studio.
I didn't pick them. I said that they're undefeated against the spread at home over like the last 2 seasons. Show me where I said off air. I'm like, ooh, they're -4. This is a situation where the Colts have covered a lot. That's all I said. Did I pick them on air?
No, because there were other games to pick.
Well, no, I just thought that was a dangerous game for Buffalo. If Joe Flacco had not thrown the ball all over the place, honestly, I think Richardson might have been a much better option in that game.
Here you go.
I like the Richardson move. I've seen enough Flacco. He might be terrible against the Jets, but you've seen the Jets play. Like, they can't stop the run. Just pound it at the Jets all game long because you only need about 21 points to beat Aaron Rodgers right now.
So the Colts are 4-6, right?
Right.
So you've got 7 games left. I think Anthony Richardson is playing for his Colts career right now.
He's so young, though. He's like... Isn't he second or third youngest quarterback in the league right now?
He was young. He was raw coming in. And you want to know what? The first sign of adversity, it didn't matter. The team went to Flacco. I think that I don't trust the plan. I don't trust that they'll stick to a plan even if they have it. And I think if Anthony Richardson is not good in these final 8 weeks of the season, 7 games, their bye week is week 14. If he's not good in these final games, I think they're looking elsewhere for a quarterback. I don't trust this organization with Anthony Richardson. They have said one thing and done another. I don't know how committed they are to this guy. And
well, here's the other thing too. If they lose out, Chris Ballard could be gone. Shane Steichen theoretically could be gone. So it could be a new regime. Irsay seems to be a little bit antsy over there. And trust me, don't forget about that guy's role in all this.
Well, remember he got kind of sick.
Yeah.
I think he had taken a bit of a step back.
I think he's around again, isn't he?
I don't know. We haven't seen him tweeting to Jonathan Taylor's agent like last offseason. Remember that debacle? 855-212-4227. Okay, so that's what's going on with one young quarterback, an exciting quarterback, that's for sure. But it looks like he's back in. Playing for his career.
Well, what an interesting bigger trend is, I'm curious if this holds. So Richardson came in at 21, right? And Caleb Williams came in at 21. They both have been disappointing.
Sure.
And then Jayden Daniels, 23, Bo Nix like 32. I don't even know how old it is.
Yeah.
Is there a trend that the guys who stuck around in college are going to be better? Like, you know how we love a trend. It does seem like putting a quarterback into the crucible at 21 is now something the NFL might not want to do.
You know, it's funny because it used to feel like the opposite.
Yeah. Like the old guys never worked.
Right. If you had a guy who was 23, people kind of assumed, A, you'd hit your ceiling already,
Yeah.
and 2, why were you so good in college? Oh, you were 22 playing against 18 and 19-year-olds.
Right. And in basketball, it's even worse. If a guy sticks around to his sophomore year, like, well, he's a scrub.
Yeah.
Well, how is he not in the NBA? But it does feel like I think the NFL is watching, all the draft teams are watching Anthony Richardson. Now, luckily for the NFL, Shedeur Sanders is about 37 years old.
Yes.
And Cam Ward is old. A lot of the quarterbacks this year are old. So, but I would think like Richardson is a interesting test case because he's so young and so raw, played so little college football. And Shane Steichen's the right guy to fix him because he took Jalen Hurts, who was totally raw, and made him a Pro Bowler.
Then why isn't he better?
It took Hurts a long time. It took him 2.5 seasons.
They made the playoffs Hurts' second year, though.
Yeah, 9-8, but he only had like 15 touchdowns that year. He improved dramatically. So, and also Hurts got older. You know, Richardson's really young. I would urge patience, but I think you're right. I think that they're a little bit erratic right now.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Hurts was a seasoned vet coming into the NFL compared to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
He played in a national championship game, had been to Alabama and Oklahoma. He had a lot more coaching than Anthony Richardson.
What Steichen likes, though, is the play that Anthony Richardson tapped out. Remember that play?
Yep.
The guy is impossible to sack. So, like, your O-line looks a little better stats-wise because Richardson will not go down on any play. It causes all sorts of problems. But this is a mobile quarterback, Maggie. Hi, Mabby.
So Jets fan over there, EJ. You've given up on the Jets season. I get it. You've surrounded yourself in some kind of Jets-free existence. But now the switch to Richardson. Feeling better about the team winning or worse?
A career Anthony Richardson game is loading against this terrible Jets defense.
Wow.
I would not even think about Anthony Richardson. You ready for Jonathan Taylor against his hometown team?
He's gonna play
to town.
He's gonna play great too. But I would put decent money that Anthony Richardson has his best game as a pro this week. Because every quarterback that plays the Jets has their best game except for Bo Nix, and he still won. Bo Nix somehow played his worst game and still beat the Jets. So,
but that was the Robert Saleh Jets, who were 20 times better on defense.
Yeah, you're right about that too. But ever since we got Jeff Ulbrich as a head coach, Russell Wilson looks great. Kyler Murray looks great. Every time the Jets play somebody, we come back saying, "Wow, their quarterback's looking pretty good."
Yeah, how can we talk about the Colts checking out on Shane Steichen when they're playing a defense that is every single player on that unit is checked out on their coaching staff?
Well, we'll definitely get to the Jets today too because Aaron Rodgers had some choice words. When does he not?
So that's my point. I don't want to put the Colts in the hot mess category, and I think you kind of do because
definitely.
No way.
Don't be a freaking weirdo.
How much do we talk about leadership and culture and all those buzzwords that all of us who actually work normal, regular jobs, like roll our eyes? Like, if you have to talk about your culture, it means it sucks.
Yeah, but
if you don't have to talk about your culture, it means it's good. But there's a reason, I think, why you keep talking about leadership and all that stuff when it comes to NFL, because I think it does matter.
But a hot mess is when you have a 40-year-old 5-time MVP and you stink. If you have a 22-year-old kid who played 13 college games and you're average, that's not a hot mess. That's like nobody thought the Colts were going to the Super Bowl. The Jets, that's the definition of a hot mess. I mean, the Colts are basically the 60s Packers compared to this Jets team as far as stability.
Oh, man. They can both be a hot mess. 855-212-4227. We'll get into the Jets varietal coming up. And this is going to be for all of our fans who live West Coast, Pacific Northwest. We love you. We see you. I'm worried for you. I'm worried. We can get all that. We got a huge show today. We're going to throw a little curveball at you guys today, too, around the 8 o'clock hour. I love it. Maggie and Perloff, don't move. So much more to come in moments.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. What's Aaron Rodgers up to today? Glad you asked. Rodgers was asked yesterday about his future. We should remind you the Jets are 3-7.
Is that right?
3-7.
3-7 or
3-6.
3-7.
Yeah.
3-7. No, 3-7. I was right the first time.
3-7.
He was asked about this disappointing season and has it impacted his thought process for coming back next year.
Has the way this season gone for you or as a team changed that thought at all?
Not really. Not for the negative. No, not really.
So you still want to play in 2025?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, buckle up, Jets fans. You get another year of Aaron Rodgers, high expectations, low output. That's what Aaron Rodgers is up to today.
I think he'll get a much better Aaron Rodgers next year. I keep telling you that the injury has defined everything about his play this year. You could see it. And name a game where he hasn't limped. Have you guys noticed that? Like, that's a big deal.
But Perloff, he's on the wrong side of 40.
Yeah.
The offensive line isn't magically going to get fixed. And he might be limping now for a while.
I don't even know if it's going to get fixed, but he can't move at all.
Right, but 28-year-old Aaron Rodgers is never walking back through the door.
What you'll see next year, if he stays healthy, is going to look like a 28-year-old Rodgers in comparison. Even a 43-year-old Tom Brady moved more than Rodgers. He cannot. He is a sitting duck. And when he does roll out his special sauce, he just throws it out, throws it away because he can't do it. You're going to see a much better Rodgers next year. And by the way, there was no way EJ's dream that he goes to the 50-yard line, retires at the end of the season. Aaron Rodgers is not going out like this. There's no way he's going out in a 5-11 season with the New York Jets, especially because there's 17 games now that I think about it, or a 5-12 season. There's no way in a million years. If you thought he was going to retire, then you've never listened to a word this man has said. In fact, I'll bet you he sticks around forever.
His words, I mean, this guy is just a walking contradiction on every single possible part of his existence.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, did you hear our pal Boomer Esiason down the hall saying, and Boomer was a former Jets quarterback, he's got a lot of ties still with the building, he said Aaron Rodgers came and took the air out of the building. You know, it's like, so congratulations, you get another year being held hostage by Rodgers, big expectations, no delivery. And here's my other part about this Rodgers thing, and we'll talk about how he was being hypocritical, talking about the Bears situation and preaching patience with their offensive coordinator, but obviously the Jets fired their head coach 5 games into the season. He saw no problem with that. Aaron Rodgers, by my calculation, spoke to the media for an hour and 15 minutes over the last 2 days. Pat McAfee show was an hour, 15 minutes with the media yesterday. Forgive me if I missed this question, but I don't think I did. Can somebody ask him why it looks like he and Davante Adams have never met before? What happened to the chemistry that these two were going to have instantly? What happened to the hand signals and the telepathy that these two have? They look like they were strangers off the street. Can someone please ask them that? That's what I'd like to do.
I'm going to tell you what would happen if the Jets gave up on him. Like, you understand what happened with Brett Favre. You know how good Brett Favre was the day he walked out of that Jets building? I mean, that was his best season of a super Hall of Fame career, and he was amazing with the Vikings. If you let Rodgers go, he will tear up the league next year. So do not do that, Jets fans. Wouldn't that be the worst? There's nothing worse than that to me.
No, I'll paint you a scenario that's worse. Here's a scenario that's worse. And listen, I get it. The Jets don't really deserve the benefit of the doubt when it comes to drafting quarterbacks. But let's say you get to a point where the season is totally off the rails and you're picking top 5. And you don't pick a quarterback because you are trying to find a weapon to help Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old. You want to know what this is called? The Giants drafting Saquon Barkley when Eli Manning was done. They missed the entire 2018 draft. Sorry, Bogish and Manny, to be bringing
I'm not
up
listening.
Bad memories here. But you had a 2018 draft that looks actually pretty decent now in hindsight. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, even Baker Mayfield holding his own. Sam Darnold's on a winning team, for goodness sakes. You could make a mistake like that where you're looking at the short term instead of the long term.
Can you imagine Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward in a Jets jersey? That would be a disaster.
That'd be a dream. Are you kidding me?
Oh, my God. With that O-line, those two quarterbacks, they would get – those are the worst. Deion's not letting Shedeur go to the Jets, so get that out of your mind, first of all. I just think the way Cam Ward holds on to the football, he's got to get rid of that with that O-line because he will be just a turnover machine. I don't think it's a great quarterback class where these guys are kind of flawed prospects, right? This is not Trevor Lawrence or these are not sure things by any means. Honestly, you see some mock drafts where it goes Shedeur, Cam Ward, and Jalen Milroe, and you see other mock drafts where there's not a quarterback in the top 10. It's not a surefire class.
All you need is one.
All you need is one, and then it's a 50-50 chance, and knowing the Jets, it's probably 80-20 that it doesn't work.
Yeah, but
maybe 97-3.
Yeah, but you don't have a future really with Rodgers.
Well, yeah.
So you got to do something.
Well, yeah. I'm telling you, if Rodgers can be so much healthier next year, it takes 2 years to recover from that Achilles tear. I think he'll go to Tennessee and throw 37 touchdowns. I really do, and because I saw it. We saw it with Brett Favre.
855-212-4227. So that's what a little of Aaron Rodgers. That's what he was up to yesterday.
But every mock draft has him taking a left tackle and move Olo Fashanu to the right side. Like, they also desperately need O-line. You can make that argument as well. No matter who the quarterback who's incoming, get me some O-linemen.
I know. To be honest, though, they kind of have invested in that area, and it's still not great. Fashanu, you mentioned, they brought in Elijah Vera-Tucker. They traded up for.
Yeah.
I mean, they did actually invest a little bit. Guys haven't been playing well.
They have 2 40-year-olds playing offensive line.
And one playing quarterback.
Yeah,
this is the design, dude.
Yeah, but a 40-year-old quarterback, I can see that. Like Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith, like this is not a future offensive line. Obviously, that's a huge priority for them. I would say the number one priority, even more than quarterback, because you bring Shedeur there.
Then blame the GM.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm saying draft another tackle next year.
I think the GM's going to be out. I think everyone's gone. And Aaron Rodgers said as much. Everyone's gone if we don't win. And newsflash, they're not winning.
Wait, EJ, real quick. Would you rather have the best left tackle in the draft or Cam Ward as the Jets quarterback next year?
Cam Ward by 1,000,000. It's not even close. Like the people writing on the chat or the video can see my skin crawling thinking about another season of Aaron Rodgers. Like that cannot happen. That to me is the worst scenario. If we're trying out a 41-year-old guy going to be 42, saying maybe he could turn the clock back one more time. If we got to go through that again, I don't like. It's just throwing away another season. This team is not close. I think that's the problem. If the Jets were close to being a winner, maybe I could finagle my way and think, all right, maybe Aaron Rodgers with a better line, he could be a little better. They're not close. So if they're not close, then what are you wasting your time saying? Okay, Aaron Rodgers is on a good season. He wins 9 games. Like, this is what the team is. They're not a championship caliber team. They're a fringe playoff team at best, and right now they're not even close to that.
He's going to be much better next year. I'm telling you, you're going to see a different player.
This has got to be some kind of long show bet. Meanwhile, we'll get to Andrew Bogish now, who's got headlines for us. Sorry for the side swipe on the Giants there. It's just the parallels
it's par for the course around
the parallels are hard to ignore.
Headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks and use code MANDP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. The Sixers and Cavaliers in midseason form in their unique ways. Philly scratching Joel Embiid and Paul George last night in Cleveland because they were playing back-to-backs, while the Cavs keep winning games.
Mitchell on the right side, steps left, 3. He hit another one. Donovan Mitchell with 3 threes here in the fourth. He's got 5 in the game, 112-104, Cavaliers by 8. Oh, what a close by Donovan Mitchell.
Tim Alcorn on Cavs Radio. Mitchell scoring 11 of his 23 points in the final 3 minutes to down those Sixers 114-106. Cleveland is the 6th team ever to start 13-0. Head coach Kenny Atkinson.
Knowing how hard, I've been in the league 17 years. You have starts, you have good starts, you have bad starts. To have a great start like this is unique and, something to celebrate.
Their next game is tomorrow night against the Bulls, who got a 124-123 win at the Garden last night. Kobe White hitting the winning free throws with 3 seconds left after the Knicks erased a 22-point third quarter hole.
I have a question.
Good job, Josh Hart. Yeah. Way to go. Way to follow 3-point guy. Wide open. Great.
Yeah, that was rough.
I have an analytics question for all you guys.
Sure.
When does load management become a dangerous strategy? Because the Sixers are 2-9 now. Their load management guys are resting. But Do they know if you end up with a 14-60 record and you load manage? Like, Joel Embiid will be ready for the playoffs and they'll be the number one pick. Like, this is weird, right? Like, this is getting unusual, how bad their record is.
It's bad when you can't tell the difference between load management and the process.
yeah. Like, the process was supposed to be done, and now the guys are here, and I'm not sure what's going on. Like, who are these guys who are lined up?
You don't understand. They're load managing for the 2026 season.
Is that like I'm telling you with Aaron Rodgers? Just wait for next year. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, you did. They said they want to have him ready for April. They didn't specify.
Yeah, right. They're going to have him ready for April. They're going to be 26 games behind 500. This is just like unusual. Like, all the Sixers fans are like, okay, he's getting a lot of rest. This is good. And they're 2-9.
We kind of glossed over it the night before, but I mean, Joel Embiid looked like I don't know. He looked like he was going to die on the court in that Knicks game.
Well, also, at this pace, when he only plays once a month, how are you going to play yourself back into game shape?
Yeah, that's a great question. No, it's not looking great. Not looking great for the Sixers. Meanwhile, the Cavs are like, oh, they're the only undefeated team. I mean, that was the easiest win ever. I think the 5 of us could beat the Sixers right now.
Sign me up, though, for Embiid being the best player in the league in March as they fall short of the play-in. Like, he's surging, looking amazing. The rest worked, but they're 14-16 and they don't make the play-in.
We call that the mellow.
I actually, as a fan of justice, I would like that. I don't care about the Sixers. Just to see load management implode in the NBA's face is enjoyable.
Giannis scored 59 in the Bucks' 127-120 OT win over the Pistons. Wemby hung a career-high 50 on the Wizards in the Spurs' 139-130 victory. And LeBron with his third straight triple-double, 35 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists. He's the oldest ever to do that. The Lakers down the Grizzlies 128-123. They are 6-0 at home. Men's number 3, UConn, hammered Lemoyne last night, 90-49. Alex Caravan scored 17. Marshawn Lattimore is still not ready for his Commanders debut. The defensive back is out tonight with a hamstring injury that he brought with him in that trade from New Orleans.
That's
Kickoff
a shame.
in Philly is 8:15 Eastern.
Oh, what a bummer. I can't believe Marshawn Lattimore is not going to be out there covering A.J. Brown. That is so sad, Maggie.
I know. I can tell you're broken up by it. I mean, so far, the guy hasn't played. You traded for him, and he hasn't played yet. And I guess you knew that, and it's a short week.
I was thinking, is it the Thursday aspect of it?
But this is kind of where you needed him.
And everyone kind of giggled like Devontae Adams' hamstring went away when it became a Jet.
Right.
Everyone was like, oh, he'll be fine once he's in Washington, and he still hasn't played yet.
Yeah, I looked at the injury report this morning. I'm like, oh, no Marshawn Lattimore. That's a really good thing for the Eagles.
And the Eagles is blank, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that game later. 53 guys healthy.
Yeah.
That never happens in the NFL Week 10.
It's fishy.
Well, they were
it does
caught
feel
lying about the Jalen Hurts ankle thing. Was that last week?
Oh, yeah, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
Amazing. That was on a Friday. I think the show had already ended, where they said, he's like, yeah, Jalen Hurts dealing with the ankle. And they're like, sorry, it says rest here on the injury report. He's like, what?
Well, we're talking about something else.
The PR person's like, yeah. And then, oh, gosh. Imagine being married to that guy. You're just like, this is where I think it's like catching him in a lie. Just like, oh, this is so frustrating.
Some dirty yards out there.
I actually thought of you because Jordan Mailata's coming back, the left tackle for the Eagles, 4 games off.
Thank goodness.
Maggie was so frustrated that the Rams linemen both came back last week and looked like they hadn't played in 3 years, and it just cost the Rams that game. I was like, wait, are we going to Rams line? It is a little rusty. A left tackle coming off 4 weeks. Like, are you sure you want to put him back in? So I think it's a hard call to make because you're bringing a guy off injury. He might stink.
Well, I think his backup has played really well.
Yeah.
So it's not as dire. Like, if he starts playing badly, just take him out. His backup is probably going to become the highest paid tackle in the league next year.
Yeah, the Rams tackle came up, and the center had about 5 snaps that were over Stafford's head. He was a little rusty.
Yeah, as someone who bet on that game,
I
was
know.
very upset that they look so crappy.
Meanwhile, the Commanders are what, their 14th kicker? I've been studying the injury report. We forget, the NFL is really an injury report game. That's kind of all that matters at the end of the day.
Here's some good news for Maggie, at least. Isaiah Pacheco is back at Chiefs practice this week, but Andy Reid said yesterday they don't expect him to play this weekend, fully returning from that leg injury.
Don't worry. Kareem Hunt's going to be just fine.
That's true.
It's not going to be a big
This is
deal.
the fastest recovery from a broken leg we've ever seen.
That's what they said. I have him on my fantasy team. This was the timeline all along.
No, it's crazy. It's like 2 months.
Maybe it was
Broken
one
leg
of those
is good,
clean
though.
breaks.
Yeah, you want the broken leg. You just don't want to tear a tendon.
Yeah, exactly. You want, because especially down there.
EJ,
Yeah,
with your
if I
patellar
broke my
tendon
leg, I
injury.
would have been back in a week.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
it's
it's also. I'm sorry, go ahead. I would say it's possible he doesn't play for 3 more weeks. They have 3 weeks to put him back on the roster,
That's
so
fair.
he might not be that close to being back. He's just good enough to run around a little bit in a penny.
Gotcha.
I would say it's like when a glass breaks in your house. And you're just like, sometimes you get a good break and sometimes you just get a really bad break. Does that happen to anyone else? Or you're just finding shards of glass for like another 2 days?
Yes.
Stepping in 3 weeks later, like, my foot. That glass from 3 weeks ago.
Do you understand, though, when you have kids, like it becomes like a code red situation if any glass breaks in your home?
I look at it as
Dogs,
a fair trade, though, from all the Legos I've stepped on for my kids, that if they take a piece of glass from a cup I broke, we're even.
Like,
Feet
ow,
up hard
daddy. It's like, well, served you right.
Yeah. Oh, stepping on a Lego. The worst.
The worst.
Oh, my God. It's so painful.
I prefer glass.
But I do agree. When you
You
have
want to be that scene in Die Hard?
when you have a glass
God.
that breaks and there's just one big piece missing, and you get
It's like, oh, it's right under the fridge.
But then I always get nervous about putting it in the trash because I'm like, well, somebody's gonna
Take
cut
the
up their
trash, yeah.
take the trash out and cut their hand. Hope it's not me. I hope it's Bogus's kid.
I love
Screw
that.
them.
Eye for an eye, a Lego and a shard of glass.
Yeah.
One's an owie and the other's an infection.
Yeah. Are you a
Well, I'm
terrible
going to
parent?
clean it after the cut. I'm going to take care of it.
You're gonna
Yeah, I'll
point 'em
drive him to the ER.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll slow the car down before I kick him out of the front seat.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like a thing that could like actually injure them. Just like a little thing of glass that gets a little cut. There's a fair
No,
trade.
that's the worst because then it digs into your skin and risks infection.
They're fine. They're 13 and almost 11.
Rub some
so
dirt
far,
on
so
it.
good.
Rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine.
This is old school parenting. I like it.
You want some hockey here, guys?
Nah.
Okay.
We'll wait.
See you next hour.
Did Ivan score?
He didn't.
Then we don't care.
Damn.
855-212-4227 is the number to get involved in the show. You're welcome to call in. Anthony Richardson is back. Aaron Rodgers apparently will be back next year, but we've got more for you on the big matchups this weekend in the NFL.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie, great Andrew Perloff. A lot of first-place teams going at it this weekend. Yeah, we are a show that plays Phil Collins. It's true.
Yeah, I thought, when you play this song, there's got to be a reason. Is this because of the Tyson fight? Is it because of all the big NFL games? Like, what's coming in the air, Maggie? It's 6:48 Eastern. Like
Tyson fight.
Yeah.
I forgot about his scene in The Hangover. It's like, wait a minute, this is my favorite part.
Oh.
Drums.
Yeah. No, I personally I'm not watching the Tyson fight. I've decided.
Oh, come on.
Which means I probably will watch it, but I'm still like, you haven't convinced me.
It's not like a character flaw to want to watch a debacle every now and then. Why do you think reality TV exists?
I saw this clip of Mike Tyson running out and boxing, and he looks like he's 32 years old. He looks awesome. I'm like, that is not what we're going to see on Friday night. I don't know how they did that with CGI, that Mike Tyson. Like, I do not understand. It's I'm very, very, very skeptical of this fight.
I want to eat his children. New reporting on Mike Tyson, by the way. We'll get into that in a minute. Kevin is in Oregon, has a thought. We were talking about are teams load managing or are they losing on purpose? We can't tell the difference anymore. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Hey, before I talk about that, you guys were talking about Isaiah Pacheco and his fibula. I mean, his lower leg being broken. It was the fibula, which is a non-weight bearing bone, and it's about a 6 to 8 week recovery time. I mean, the longer they wait, the better. But he could come back right now. I'm a retired surgeon. I wasn't a bone doctor, but I know a little bit about it. Anyways, as far as load management is concerned, I think back to Michael Jordan, Magic. Those guys were so competitive. I can't imagine those guys willingly sitting out a game and without argument. And to look at these guys now, I just don't understand what happened to the players nowadays compared to the guys that, are legends.
Kevin, it's a great point. I think how it started versus how it's going are two very different things. How it started, I don't think, was the players. I think this was front offices. This was team doctors. This was advanced metrics and all that said, listen, and Kevin's a doctor, that just said, the more you rest, the better you're going to play when it matters in the postseason. So I think it originally came from the top down. It wasn't the players saying, oh, screw it, I don't want to play. It was the team saying, we need you freshest and peaking at a certain time. And with some advanced numbers and tests, this is the best way to do it. And now it's just gotten out of control.
Yeah, it seems that way. I understand what you're saying, too. But there's always been the NBA flu. There has been minor load management. Like towards the end of the season, after the playoff spots are kind of secured, a lot of teams rest their stars. So it's not like this the first time. But the degree to which they're doing it now seems weird. And yeah, how did Jordan didn't seem to me, and again, I have this a lot of nostalgia. It didn't seem to me like he wore down that bad.
No, I think that comparing everyone to Jordan or LeBron, though, LeBron who just had this third straight triple-double at the age of 40, think comparing people to those two guys, they just might be the freaks of nature.
But no, I don't remember anyone from the 80s, like the great scorers being like less effective. Alex English or Kelly Trippier. I don't know. I don't remember like the wear down factor or the injury. Felt like guys used to play 70 games. So you would think with this new load management system, there'd be less injuries. And now it feels like there's more injuries. So it's almost working counter to what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple different factors even there. I think the game is so much different now. There's a lot more possession. So whether it's more physical back in the day, sure, but it's just more... It could be a little bit more taxing going up and down the floor.
I don't buy that.
And then the second
that game used to fly up and down the floor.
But it's a fact. There's more possessions now.
Well, okay, but in the 80s when like those Piston teams were scoring like 160 points a night, you're right. But you're still on the court. What's the difference? What do you think you're doing?
I just think maybe it's a different type of impact on your body. And then the other part too, and I don't know how much this matters, but it did change from a best of 5 to a best of 7 in the first round. So you are playing, and there's more teams that make the playoffs, and then there's more playoff games. And we know playoff basketball is very different than the regular season. So were guys looking fresher because you had actually literally fewer teams making the playoffs and fewer games being played.
I think you're also having a residual effect of what AAU basketball is doing to these athletes, too. Because you're having these guys who are young people. We talk about Chet Holmgren, for example, like young guys coming in and having serious injuries early in their career. Some of these load management things, we're thinking on load management, the guys are just injured. And I think these guys are way more brittle than they used to be.
It's like starting pitchers.
Yeah, like back in the day, we didn't specialize in sports. We didn't have guys playing basketball 12 months a year. They played for the summer months and then maybe during their school year, and then that was it. It's totally different now. I think you're having athletes come into the league as damaged goods.
Yeah, but Chet wouldn't have lasted in the 80s. I mean, he wouldn't even be out there. He's too skinny.
Yeah, but I think this is a player though who's already been through a lot of physical trauma already, right? So like that matters.
But I think he's a unique player because of his body build. He looks like an injury waiting to happen. He's got to put on. Yeah, he reminds me of Sean Bradley.
Yeah, but Joel Embiid is the same way. He came in and he came into the league hurt. Like he literally had a broken foot before he stepped on the court. Like,
but he didn't come out through AAU.
Well, he played high school basketball in America, and he was playing AAU basketball in America. So like it's all from that. I mean, Jabari Parker. There's a million of examples of guys coming in early in their careers having injuries. These guys, I think these players are just not in the same physical condition as the players were back then too. I think it's a factor in why we're seeing so many guys break down.
Wait, they're not in the same. They should be in better condition theoretically. Like sports science is so much more advanced. Wouldn't today's athletes be healthier?
Well, but to EJ's point, like they're just playing so many more games now because of AAU. Like you go on a weekend and you're playing 4 games in a day.
Yeah.
When back in the day, you'd had basketball season, then you go to baseball season, and then you do whatever. Wrestling.
Then you just go to summer camp. Like sometimes you just don't play sports for a little while. Like stuff matters. It's not just in basketball too. It's all the major sports.
855-212-4227. All right, this is for our people in the Pacific Northwest, out west. I've got a warning for you. And I hope this warning is heeded and it's taken in, digested. Let's do it.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
A plea, a request, begging. We're not above any of that. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff, this goes out to Oregon head coach Dan Lanning.
Okay.
Please, do not leave to go to the NFL. Do not put yourself into that meat grinder. There's a report out from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, very plugged in, that executives are now really looking at Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach, as a possible NFL head coach and a really hot candidate. The quotes are, he's got some Dan Campbell in him, one executive told Fowler, and he's the intriguing name as we're already in midseason here. We've had one head coach fired. We've had two NFL head coaches fired. We've had multiple coordinators already shown the door. It's going to be a big year for NFL coaching changes, but I would just beg Dan Lanning, don't do this, okay? First of all, college coaches have not had a lot of success going to the NFL, okay? And college coaches, especially ones on the defensive side of the ball, I just feel like you're adding a degree of difficulty onto that is basically going to usher your exit in. You're going to get rich enough being the head coach at Oregon. To do this for the money also doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I get it if it was a Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or even Deion, who on the defensive side of the ball is one of the great players of all time. That I get. But if I'm Dan Lanning, why would I want to step into an NFL locker room where I'm going to have to be facing these guys who are going to wonder, what did you do? I would not want that at all.
You can save your pleas. There's no chance he's leaving Oregon for the NFL. That dude didn't want Alabama, so he's going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars? No chance. There is zero chance that an NFL team can pull him away from Oregon. Because why would your reasons are spot on. Why would he do that to go to a obviously dysfunctional franchise? Because all the vacancies next year are nothing but dysfunctional franchises. He's right now at a very, very functional franchise. And let's face it, college teams are pro teams now anyway. They have general managers. There's nothing that's not pro about them. This Oregon Ducks is a way better situation than any of these NFL teams. I totally agree with that. And I think the fact that he didn't even let the Alabama discussion start says to me that he is perfectly happy. And there's no, I know there's a lot more money maybe in the NFL, but there's no money that's going to get him to go into a bad situation.
Well, see, the Alabama thing I think was totally different. You're walking into a situation where you're taking over for Nick Saban. That's intimidating. Taking over for Matt Eberflus in Chicago, not the same intimidation factor. Taking over for Doug Peterson doesn't come with the same type of like pressure point.
Why he was at Alabama. That's crazy that you don't think.
But a lot of people passed on that job because I think being the guy after the guy sometimes can be a challenge. If I get why Kalen DeBoer did it, and he's doing a great job. But
who else passed on it? I know Lanning shut it down. There was one other. Did Lane shut it down? Like who else passed on it?
I don't know if we're ever going to fully know all the candidates, but I just think that that's a different thing than taking over for an NFL head coach.
Right. But I think
that was an institution of Nick Saban was everything. Again, you take over for Matt Eberflus, it's not going to be the same type of pressure if it was Chicago.
But it's a mess there. Where I'm saying Alabama is a great place to recruit and win football games. Oregon's a great place. Like he's going to know. Like why would I set myself up for failure? Unless there's some bizarre situation where there is a real functional team to go to, he is not going to do that because he just seems like a level-headed guy too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they all seem kind of level-headed except for Mike Gundy. But I'm kidding. But,
and Lane Kiffin. And actually, if we could go down a long list of college football coaches.
Yeah, Deion, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, Dan Lanning seems particularly level-headed, but go ahead.
I don't love this idea. And I think that we are, the idea that Jim Harbaugh is going back from college to the NFL and having success with the Chargers. He's not your average coach because he already had success at the NFL level as a player and also as a coach with the 49ers. It's not the same. And I don't think it would go the way of like Urban Meyer or Matt Rule, but I think it'd be more likely Urban, let's put that to the side. That was a particularly messy train wreck. But even like a Matt Rule who just was ineffective and eventually just shown the door.
Well, he entered a bad situation. We didn't know it at the time, but that owner's a mess.
Yeah, but if it hadn't been Carolina, he was going to get hired by the Giants. I mean, there were teams that were lined up to give Matt Rule a lot of money.
But Rule had NFL experience, unlike Lanning.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Lanning has none. No NFL experience.
He's not doing it.
I don't know. Maybe you start to get a little bit of a wandering eye, but again, you've looked like, as Oregon, clearly your, acclimation into the Big Ten is going swimmingly, considering you're leading the conference. You're the number one team in the country. It's a 12-team playoff now, way more of a safety net. I don't get why he would even entertain it. I don't. 855-212-4227. but there will be executives that are interested. EJ, what are we missing about this?
Guys, what the hell does he have to lose? Think about this. Lou Holtz, Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, Greg Schiano, Dennis Erickson, Bobby Petrino, Lane Kiffin. I can go on and on and on. None of these people's careers were hurt by a failed run in the NFL. In fact, Jim Harbaugh went to the NFL, had success in the NFL, and still was allowed to go back and have a great job in college. When you're a coach, there's only one pinnacle that matters the most. NFL head coach Brian Flores said it a couple days ago. There's only 32 of them, okay? Yeah. There's 140 Division I FBS college football jobs, okay? There's only 32 NFL jobs. That's the creme of the creme. If you want to show, if you're Dan Lanning, you're a kind of competitor, you want to show that you're one of the best, that's the job. So to me, if you're searching for something greater, some kind of, from a competitive standpoint, from an immortality standpoint, from a legacy standpoint, go chase the money. Go chase the dream of the NFL. If it doesn't work out, guess what? He will have schools lining up to bring him back to college because people will look at his success at Oregon, look at his success as an assistant at Georgia and Alabama and say, well, this guy's clearly great. We know guys fail in the NFL. There's no problem with that. He'll go and be coaching at Penn State or somewhere and he'll be fine.
But I'll give you a counterexample who coached at Oregon and gutted his career by going to the NFL. That's Chip Kelly. I mean,
but he did get another head coaching job.
But they got a head coaching job, but he probably cost himself the Hall of Fame by that decision to leave Oregon for the NFL. Like that was, Chip Kelly used to be the top of the coaching mountain, and now he's an afterthought. Now he's an OC, which is crazy. Like that's like saying, and Steve Spurrier is another guy who got really hurt by his forays into the NFL. I disagree that you can hurt your legacy by going to the NFL. Like a lot of guys.
But we don't think about those guys and say, I mean, Chip Kelly maybe, but Steve Spurrier, we don't think about him and say, oh man, like he really ruined his legacy. No, we say he was a great Florida coach. He sucked in the NFL. He went to South Carolina. He was okay. And
I think that Washington thing was a big ding on his legacy. I mean, Maggie, you know what I'm talking about. It was bad.
Yeah, but Dan Snyder really takes all of the slings and arrows.
That's because Steve wasn't in the building. He was out playing golf.
I mean, do we think that Mike Shanahan really got hurt, super hurt legacy-wise by being in D.C.? He's not a college coach, obviously, but I think that whole D.C. thing, it's just everyone just pinned it on the owner. He was bad. Their culture was rotten. All of that stuff.
But do you agree that I think Chip Kelly you don't think he got hurt by going to the NFL and failing?
Yeah, but
it was like a proof of concept that didn't work.
Yeah, I mean he did win 10 games one year, but he did get another head coaching job. Like it's not like his career went in the toilet.
And also, he's a little different, too, because remember, he didn't go right back to college. He took another NFL job that was way worse than the one he had.
The 49ers really put
if he decided after the Eagles situation where he has one good season and one bad season and says, all right, I'm going to go back to college, he could have coached anywhere he wanted. He went to the 49ers and, which was a terrible situation, terrible front office, and then that really tanked his legacy. I'm not saying Dan Lanning should do that. I'm not saying if it fails one place, just keep trying. I'm saying if he goes somewhere, if it unfortunately doesn't work out, he will have the pick of the litter and he can go back to any other school and coach college football as long as he wants.
It's a fine point because you're right. A lot of the guys you mentioned on that list, they haven't been super damaged. It's not like they had to leave coaching because of failing in the NFL.
Lou Holtz coached the Jets.
I know.
And then he came back and he's a national champion. He's
so
a
did
legend.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe that's a Jets thing. But it probably is. But here's the thing. It's like, do you want to cause yourself that kind of aggravation, I think is what it is. Because the odds are Pete Carroll was able to do it. Jim Harbaugh got pretty far. It's just... It's rare that you get to the mountaintop. And by the way, Oregon hasn't won yet with Dan Lanning. So you'd have to almost do that first before I think you try to go take the NFL carrot. And even that, so you're going to go to the Bears, you're going to be there, and you're going to get one-upped and thumped by every decision some front office, Kevin Warren, the president, is going to come big time you on it.
You know who I don't want to be? I don't want to be Matt Campbell. I don't want to be Kirk Ferentz.
The guys who
I don't want to be Lincoln Riley. Right? Those guys who at times were looked at as NFL candidates and said, no, I got Ryan Day. I got a comfortable, safe job here. I can coach here forever, and it'll be fine. And especially in the ideas of, I know I'm picking on Iowa here, but in Campbell and Kirk Ferentz, we don't even think about those guys anymore. Are those guys important in the landscape of football? No. And those guys could have chased big opportunities, big money, and maybe they would have been really successful if they would have left when they had the opportunity.
Yeah, but they also got college offers that they didn't get into either. I mean, Matt Campbell was looked at all over the place.
Right. I mean, and maybe
probably could have been
he
Notre
had
Dame
issues
coach.
beyond just the NFL. But I'm saying those are guys that you looked at one point and said, these guys were looked at as NFL potential guys.
Well, let me ask you, except for Saban obviously an exception, like who left for the NFL and came back and won a title? Maybe I'm missing some guy.
Lou Holtz.
Oh, Jesus. Lou Holtz.
I'm trying to do
What
do you mean?
Lou Holtz.
He coached the Jets, was a disaster. Was one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history. And then he gets a job in Notre Dame. He's a national champion.
You know, I mean, you're going to put out Lou Holtz there?
Well, you asked, and EJ gave you the example.
Oh, get out of here.
Just because you
Lou
don't like
Holtz.
it doesn't mean that didn't happen.
Lou Holtz happened to win a national championship, but Lou Holtz is your model? That's your model?
Jim Harbaugh just won a championship. And now he's back in the NFL.
Oh, Harbaugh, right. But it took a long time.
He was at Michigan. You know what I mean? What do you mean? He's fighting
Wait,
Ohio
no.
State.
But he didn't leave. He didn't leave college, go to the NFL, and come back to college.
He did.
He did.
He was at Stanford.
He went
San
to
Diego.
Stanford. Damn, Stanford is there.
So
anyway,
there are plenty of models of guys who
plenty. So how many? You just named 3, and Lou Holtz. I'm not giving you any credit for it because he happened to win a title. But come on,
he happened to win a title. What are you talking
Lou
about?
Holtz?
Perloff, he's a joke now, but he was a very respected head coach. Well, not
By
for the
who?
Jets.
Did they declare the championship?
Yes, that's back when
How
you
many
could just
games?
say,
By the way,
I win.
Yes.
how many games did he actually coach in the NFL? Not a lot.
I think 13. I think he was 3-10. I don't know why that number sticks in my head. I'm pretty sure he was 3-10 as Jets coach, and it was apparently one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL.
And they had Rich Kotite.
No.
But I mean, most of the names that Maggie started off the segment by naming, most of them came back to college and were slightly watered down versions of themselves. Like Petrino, I think, peaked before he went to the Falcons. Like, it's not great for your career. It's not. There's some risk in it, I think. I mean, I think you could be Chip Kelly and just listen, Chip Kelly, he didn't want to go to UCLA. He would have preferred to be at a powerhouse.
But if you're in the coaching circles, and they will all say this, the people who feel like the best coaches are on the pro level, and that's at every sport. Football, they say this. The best.
I know. I know.
If Dan Lanning is in a situation where he wants to coach against the best, he wants to compete against the best, it's not against James Franklin. It's not against Kirk Ferentz. It's not against these clowns in college football. Okay, it's going to be against the Patriots, not the Patriots, but the Chiefs, the Eagles. No. It's coaching against those guys. It's coaching against the best. If he wants to do that, he should go for it. Patriots are in my head because they're always their model of greatness, but not anymore.
No, I get it. Yeah, it'd be like Andy Reid or whatever. It's just funny because Andrew Kaplan in our chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet and twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork said, imagine Lou Holtz wakes up, turns on the radio, and just randomly getting destroyed by a bunch of people.
He will clap back on us hard, by the way.
Yeah,
the way he's
we'll hear about
he's
it.
still going after Ryan Day for something he said 3 years ago.
Throw him out the window.
Oh, man.
by the
Question
way-
for you. Should Dan Lanning be thinking about going to the NFL? Looks like NFL executives are interested in him, according to Jeremy Fowler.
And sorry, this is going to sound like a bit of a swipe, but what has Dan Lanning exactly won in college football?
Well, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But to be fair, we consider Jim Harbaugh to be a success in the NFL. He's never won a Super Bowl. You can show that you're a winner without actually literally hoisting the
Jim
trophy.
Harbaugh, he didn't win anything at Stanford, and he had Andrew Luck.
It's such a different model. Jim Harbaugh and Dan Lanning. I mean, Jim Harbaugh was a Pro Bowl quarterback. His brother was a coach of the Rams. The two are not the same. Jim Harbaugh's got a lot more that comes with him than Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning's closer to the people you mentioned, like Bobby Petrino, like the college guys.
Yeah,
The Jim Harbaugh, it was we know Jim Harbaugh. Don't compare Dan Lanning to Jim Harbaugh. They're totally different animals.
855-212-4227. So that's on the table for you. And again, to our fans who are in the state of Oregon, we know that we're on Portland, Eugene. We're in Ducks country. How do you feel about these kind of reports? Do they make you a little bit nervous? So
quack, quack.
I'm not putting on the duck suit today.
If you really won with the Pacific Northwest and you really want Dan Lanning to stay, I think you really need to get immersed, and that means the duck suit, Maggie.
Do they need the duck? I mean, it's one report. If we get a second source, then I'll put the duck suit back on.
There's a very, very good chance that this is Dan Lanning who's agent who's putting out that Dan Lanning is being looked at by NFL.
No, they said league
NFL.
executives.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Did he get a raise last year?
That means nothing for him getting a new raise this year, in college football.
Yeah, no, I know. I feel like you're right. His agent knows this game.
855-212-4227. So that's a little of the news that's going on. Caught our eye out there in the Pacific Northwest. Another thing that caught our eye, this one is not subtle at all. This is not reports. This is not unnamed NFL people, unnamed college people. This is someone going straight on the record. What did they say? Why does it matter? We'll tell you next. Maggie and Perloff.
All right, sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. We're debating Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach, his future. Would he listen if the NFL, as is reported, would come calling? Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, said that teams are interested in Dan Lanning. EJ and I were talking at the break. Some coaches are meant for college. Dabo Swinney being the number one, like that would never play in the NFL. Kirby Smart being number two. I feel like Dan Lanning's on that side of the spectrum, has no NFL experience, never played in the NFL, hasn't coached in the NFL. That is a tough formula. It doesn't often work. So Dan Lanning, Maggie, you said it well. You plead, stay in Eugene.
Yeah, I would also add Mike Gundy to that list. I couldn't see him in an NFL locker room.
No, not at all.
We probably should have known about Shiano. Who else was on your list, EJ, of guys who went?
Oh, yeah, a very good list here. Holtz, Saban, Spurrier, Greg Schiano, Dennis Erickson, Bobby Petrino, and Jim Harbaugh, who was a success.
Petrino we should have known.
I don't know
Shiano could
why
have known.
NFL teams thought Petrino was going to be good.
I mean, he quit on the Atlanta Falcons and left a note in the locker room.
By the way, you think
so lame.
Petrino definitely got hurt by that experience. Like Petrino was. Well, you guys don't remember. Like he was the coach for a long time.
He went to Arkansas and had a really great run until he got on that damn motorcycle. That's what screwed him up.
Yeah, it was the neck brace.
Yeah.
But I think even when that happened, like he had lost a lot of respect before that. Then now nobody takes him seriously, even though everyone knows he can play call.
Yeah,
Arkansas brought Petrino back because of how good he was there, despite what happened.
Right, but generally though, he's a punchline more than somebody who is lauded as a great coach, and he was considered a great coach way back in the day.
Right, but he made himself a punchline.
And obviously, Urban Meyer, nobody's legacy was hurt more than Urban Meyer's. I mean,
that I will give you.
Yeah.
But again, like whose fault is that? No one made Urban Meyer go to his own restaurant and be dancing with that chick. Like there's levels of embarrassment here. You know, Bob Petrino gets into a motorcycle accident and then we find out that he's having an affair with somebody. Urban Meyer, that video is one of the most cringe videos of all time. He did that to himself. He could have just been like Saban and just didn't work out. And, you know.
Kicking the kicker didn't help him either.
Oh, right.
That's a weird thing, you know, a college coach, if you've ever been around college coaches, considering it's a sport built on a lie, they generally do not have any ethics that players or student athletes. Like they're like this whole sport, like, hey, we're just going to lie to everybody and do whatever we want. So college coaches in general, not the most ethical human beings I've ever been around. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, I just heard Shane Steichen say Joe Flacco's our quarterback for the season and Anthony Richardson's the quarterback for the season. You can lie in the NFL, too.
Yeah, not like, we just signed this recruit. For 100 years, college football was paying guys under the table. Like, that's lying. That's not a lie to say, like, we're going with Joe Flacco. That's just a mistake. College, like, they're literally lying through their teeth every day. You go on the recruiting trail. You think you're saying anything real? You think a college coach, you think Nick Saban went into living rooms and was being honest? No. This is a sport of lies.
Yeah, you're right. I also think Kirk Cousins probably thinks the Falcons lied to him, that they weren't going to take a quarterback, and then they did. You can lie at every level.
Yeah, like when you're house sitting for Barbara Streisand, you rummage through her underwear drawer. Yeah. I mean, seriously, glass house much?
Bogusch is going to keep this receipt till the end of time. That was the more story yesterday.
Thought about it during the day. It's not you should stop saying that story out loud.
I didn't want to say that story. Maggie keeps forcing me to say it.
In your defense, you did not want to.
No.
I keep forcing you. It's an all-time story.
You've been around, by the way, college basketball coaches. College football coaches lie. College basketball coaches, I mean, they are slimy.
Yeah. Well,
they are just slimy.
Because you got to be in sales, you know?
Yeah.
Not all salespeople are slimy, but there's an aspect to it where you got to just tell people what they want to hear.
Not good old Mark Few, my guy.
Mark Few's the one. Yeah.
He's a good guy. I mean, don't look at the DUI video. Besides that,
Oh, jeez.
I mean, just look at it is a salesman. Like, who are whatever. I'm not even going to get into this.
It's like, what do I have to do to put you into this uniform today?
Exactly. That is like Shane Steichen like messing up his starting quarterback's a lot different than Rick Pitino competing with John Calipari for recruits.
By the way, St. John's back in the top 25.
How about that?
Look at that. 855-212-4227. And accountability goes out the window. D is in Portland. D, what do you think about this Dan Lanning situation? NFL executives are interested in the Oregon head coach.
So, no chance that happens. The offensive and defensive coordinators, a lot of people don't really realize how good they are. They're really freaking good. And on top of that, the whole Alabama thing when it was going on, it's funny because there was a report in Alabama or something like that he was on a plane ride over there to go talk to him. But then the next couple of days, he went on a radio show. And he was saying, that never happened. I was eating dinner with my family. I'm telling you, he loves it here. He loves coaching the Ducks, and he's a really smart dude. He knows that he has some pretty good people with him.
Yeah.
So I just can't see that happening.
I think you're right, and I think his quote was, the grass is pretty damn green at Oregon, right? Which is a great quote when people say, is the grass going to be greener? The one thing that I'm interested in, D, thank you. I'll have to do a little bit more research into this to whatever info could be public. But how old is Phil Knight? 80?
I think he's like 86,
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, in this new world of college football, and it's always been this way, but boosters are playing even more of a role, right? Because it's the boosters right now until a couple court cases get taken care of. It's the boosters who are providing the NIL money. It's the boosters who are playing for the players.
Right.
So Phil Knight's future right now and what happens, listen, hopefully he lives to be 110, but what happens after he's gone and what does that look like in terms of Nike's relationship with Oregon? I have to do a little more research on that.
For some reason, I think it was sustain. I'm not sure, but you don't think Phil left them some money?
His son Travis is not really involved with sports at all. He's like a film guy, Travis Knight.
Yeah, I just don't know.
The former UConn center?
No, not the former Knicks center or Lakers center. No, I know everyone says that, but he's one of the heirs, you would think, or has some inheritance. I don't know if he's continuing the Phil Knight thing.
Listen, it could be like here. It's whatever Oregon needs in perpetuity. Fine, but still, you wonder, right?
No, because we're not morbid people here.
I wonder. I agree with Maggie. It's important.
I didn't say it about someone who's 46. Okay, let's go to Rich in California. Hey, Rich.
Yeah, I wonder why the Oregon coach would ever want to leave there. Literally, he can write his own ticket. He's got all the job security in the world. And if he goes to the NFL, he's going to be dealing with guys that are making more money than he is. At which point does that become just kind of silly? I mean, great, you went coached at the NFL. And
yeah,
what?
but Rich, life can come at you fast. Ask Ryan Day about it. He's somebody who's won tons of games at Ohio State. You would think he would have a job for life. And I think he finds himself in uncomfortable spots because, he'll beat Michigan this year, but losing to Michigan 3 years in a row. And all of a sudden, maybe you don't feel the job security. Things are going great now in Oregon, but there's always a possibility that they can go sideways.
Well, yeah, but compared to the Bears, I mean,
the Bears is guaranteed to go sideways. That's why I wouldn't do it.
But there's also the simple thing of he just might want to coach in the NFL. Like Brad Stevens used to come on the network when we were new, and he came on when he became the Celtics head coach. And we asked him, how come no one knew about this? Like that you want? He's like, well, no one asked me. If anybody asked me about the NBA, I would have said I wanted to coach in the NBA. Dan Lanning might want to coach an NFL team, and it might not matter about Oregon money or Phil Knight or anything like that.
I was shocked by Brad Stevens. I had no idea. Sorry, EJ.
No, I talked about this off air with Pearl. Like my brother worked with the Vikings a couple years ago. I mean, he's told me like no NFL head coach would ever prefer a college job.
Well,
like that's just the reality of what the NFL means and what pro means to college. It also is the grind that is with college compared to the NFL. Because as a college football coach, it's a 12-month job. It is not you do the regular season and then you take some time off. You're immediately on the recruiting trail. If you're not recruiting on the recruiting trail, you're organizing your recruiting operation. You're talking with your NIL situation. Now, that's a whole nother thing. In the NFL, you coach and then you hit the golf course. Okay,
Yeah.
And you have a GM. I mean, we saw Hard Knocks. They both kind of checking in every couple episodes, and he's gone.
He did kind of disappear
Yeah,
for
he
a
just
few
was
episodes.
gone for 3 episodes. like NFL coaches, that lifestyle is a lot easier
What
than
about, like,
He
being
did
a
check
college
in
football
from the
coach.
pool.
Yeah,
Right,
smoking a
exactly.
cigar. How you guys doing?
What about like the Sean McVay types who don't sleep for 3 months in a row and go insane?
Right, the other 9 months, he's
No, but there are a
Dating
lot.
supermodels.
I think there's some intense football coaches. Yeah, I hear you. But isn't that what you hire Ed Orgeron for? Like, why does the head coach have to do all this work?
I'm telling you,
you have all this money at Oregon. Get like the USC program under Pete Carroll.
But what do you think is Dan Lanning's superpower? You don't think that it's a benefit to his organization, his program, that he has charismatic as he is, as his ability to relate to young people? It's not an advantage for him to be
you fly in the closer. Like Saban.
Oh, I think he's one of those guys that's different. I think like a Calipari, I think like a Saban, like there's some people that they step in your locker room, or excuse me, your living room, and they give you a pitch. I think it resonates.
Although, does that mean a little bit less nowadays with NIL? Is the coach like giving you the big sell? Is
You're
that
right.
a little more like, hey, what's the bottom?
But then
Like, what's the number?
but the coaches are saying that that's giving them more of a headache.
Yeah, it is.
They're leaving college football
Guys
and
are
basketball
burning out.
because of NIL. So
Yeah.
that's not making it easier. It's making it harder for them for whatever reason.
Yeah, Dan Lanning, by the way, has landed some gigantic high school quarterback recruits that none of them have played there. So, like, what does he care? He's just going to get another transfer every year.
Andrew Bogish has headlines for us on this. What is it, Thursday? We got a big
I know.
game tonight.
These headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code MANDP, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. It remains remarkable that 39-year-old LeBron is not the guy we're dragging along to make the Bronny experiment work. Dad remains the better player by a large margin.
AD to LeBron, slam dunk. An absolutely perfect give and go from Anthony Davis to LeBron. Couldn't have drawn it up any better. Lakers by 8.
John Ireland on Lakers radio. LeBron with 35 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists to become the oldest player with 3 straight triple-doubles.
I'm just living in the moment, and it feels good to be able to go out and play the game that I love at a high level still. You know, and every night I step on the floor, I try to help our team be successful in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So in that sense, it's pretty cool.
So, no, go ahead.
The Lakers, I get it. They're winning. LeBron wants to play 37 minutes, though, in November. I know he got really salty about Darvin Ham putting him on a minute restriction last year. We saw that in the movie Starting Five, the Netflix documentary or whatever. I get that, but at some point, doesn't JJ Redick have to factor this in, or are we just going to play this season like LeBron's not almost 40?
That's the way LeBron wants it to be, right?
I don't understand the science. Like, is it that hard to play 37 minutes of basketball? I do it all the time for free.
Moving on, the Lakers.
I don't want to hear any criticism of Tom Thibodeau when he starts playing his 29-year-olds 40 minutes in a game in the playoffs.
Those are big 3 minutes, though. That's where the science comes in.
Yeah.
Anyone can do 37. Once you get a 38, you start putting guys in danger.
Listen, we all know math isn't my strong suit. I probably should have said 50 minutes.
I don't know.
It's like 37 minutes, you're LeBron James. 38 minutes, you're Kawhi Leonard. That's just the math.
I just don't think playing LeBron 28 minutes a game makes sense. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean?
My guess is there'll be like a groin pull somewhere in like January. He'll take 3 weeks off and then come back.
I like that. Just take the whole day off. Don't put.
Right.
You can't put him out there part time. He's too itchy.
I
They'll
think
just complain.
I mean, there is an aspect we talked about with Embiid that, like, if he's not only playing 28, 29 minutes, is he going to be able to go the 40, 42 he'll need in the playoffs? Like, that's a reality, too, just about being in shape.
I know, but we never asked that question about LeBron.
He's
always in shape, and he always plays.
Right, but he seems miserable when he has to play 27 minutes in a game. Like, honestly, like if you're JJ Redick, do you really want to sit there and watch LeBron be like, dude, put me in? I like this idea. Just sit him out or play him 37 minutes.
So they beat the Grizzlies last night, 128-123. Their next game is tomorrow night in San Antonio, and LeBron will miss seeing Greg Popovich.
Wishing him the best of health, and hopefully I see him soon. It doesn't even have to be on the sidelines. Hopefully I'll just see him soon. That's the most important for me.
The Spurs announced yesterday that Popovich suffered a mild stroke at their arena back on November 2nd. He has already begun rehab. A full recovery is expected, but there is no timetable yet for his return. Last night was the 7th game he has missed. His Spurs outscored the Wizards 139-130 because Victor Wembanyama posted 50 points. He had 8 threes. Both of those are career highs. Giannis had 59, his second most ever to lead the Bucks past the Pistons, 127-120 in overtime. He actually outscored Detroit by himself, 11-9 in those extra 5 minutes. The Cavs are 13-0 after a 114-106 win in Philly, and the Celtics won in Brooklyn, that is, 139-114, with Jason Tatum posting 36 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. Vikings QB J.J. McCarthy reportedly had a follow-up procedure on his right knee recently. This one was to address inflammation that developed when McCarthy increased his rehab activity. This procedure does not change the timeline of his recovery from the initial meniscus injury. He should still be 100% well before next season.
Man, that's not great, though.
Nah.
I don't think anyone saw that and thought, oh, yeah, this is going swimmingly. We always say, like, oh, the surgery was successful. Like, obviously, but the rehab, you can't say that it's going well when you need the follow-up surgery.
Maybe it could be like with the Niners where Trey Lance didn't work out, but they have a superstar in Sam Darnold and they don't need J.J. McCarthy.
Did you watch that Jags game?
Actually, yeah, I mean, Darnold, yes, I did. And Darnold makes mistakes, but he's not that bad. I mean, he's honestly, yeah, I see he's made some great
Sam
throws.
Darnold, the former Jet quarterback, is
Same
not
guy.
that bad.
He's 7-2.
Oh, okay.
Justin Jefferson helps.
If my doctor came to me and was like, I need to do another surgery on the knee that you're already rehabbing, I might want to, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Like, I legit, like, I might go into a deep depression.
Hopefully not. I mean, I hope he's got a good people around him, but that surgery, A, wasn't that long ago.
Exactly.
And B, I wonder, I'm just curious how much pain he might have been in because you're ramping up the rehab process and now you're realizing there's swelling. And I imagine that had to be pretty painful. I also saw, are they putting some kind of biologics that they're...
Well, that's what the thing was. It sounded like they put some kind of like gel in the... But like what I ever know about these kind of decisions is these are not necessarily like human decisions. Like this is a pro quarterback who has basically free, unfettered health care. Yeah. So they go, all right, you're 3 weeks behind because your knee is swollen. A regular person, they would just say, don't rehab. Like, just take a break and whatever.
Right.
But because they have a team doctor, he goes, come by for lunch. I'll put this stuff in your knee and everything will be fine. Like, I can never tell, like, how big of a red flag some of these things are.
Or they're just being ultra aggressive.
Because they can.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter. Like, EJ's doctor is not going to go do every max thing because, with all due respect, you're a regular person.
Right.
J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings are not regular people in this scenario. So they can do all the cool stuff and the fancy stuff that just quickens things up.
Totally. By the way, Trey Lance, I do remember, had back-to-back surgeries within 2 months. Like that happens a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like if they had to go
really, Lance has never been the same since that happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it'd be far more concerning if they had to go in and like refix his meniscus.
Now, what I will say though is, according to Rappaport and Pelissero, that the biological injection was part of the knee procedure, but there was other stuff that it did too. It wasn't like he just got shot and that was a procedure. It seems like there was more than that with this.
Wait, it was a meniscus that we're talking about?
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, torn meniscus.
I thought like that was the easiest thing to fix.
I thought so too. So when they said he was out for the year, I was surprised at the beginning.
Meniscus tears are weird, depending on how you tear it and how they tell you to repair, how to recover. Yeah. It could be anything from 2 months or a month to a year.
Bionic knee J over here. He's an expert.
And Embiid
That's
has
what we call him, Brace
meniscus
Hall.
problems. Brace Hall.
I think the other part too, it always reminds me of I think Mike Golick said this once. It's always minor surgery when it's someone else.
Yeah.
When it's you and it's your knee, and now it's the second time they're, I would say, open it up or doing something with it within 6 months.
That is the most true words ever. is always minor surgery unless it's you. That's very true.
It's so funny. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, I don't expect JJ. I don't know when JJ McCarthy's going to be good. It doesn't feel like a huge blow.
Running is a big part of his game.
Yeah, but I understand. It's like, well, it felt like they brought in a guy who was an experiment. So I just don't know that this is going to gut the franchise. I mean, it's not like they lost a number one pick. I don't. Did you guys wow, JJ McCarthy, the Vikings are really taking a gigantic step back as an organization? It doesn't feel that way to me.
If Sam Darnold wasn't playing this well, I think we'd feel way worse.
Yeah, but still, JJ McCarthy, people were very skeptical of that pick because he didn't throw at all in college.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just really kind of generally kind of just concerned for the dude. I think we want to see him play in the NFL, and it's, this is a setback. The fact they're saying it's not going to impact his timetable, I bet let's revisit that.
Yeah, I just think it's really helpful that the Vikings are winning games. This story goes to the back burner because they're going to be a playoff team. And I don't know if JJ McCarthy beats out Sam Darnold next year if he's back.
Interesting.
I don't know, but there's word that Darnold's going to be a free agent, that some other team might make that mistake. Maybe goes back to the Jets.
You're looking right at Bogus.
Oh, there's talk.
Yeah, no, I know. Don't look at me.
There's talk.
Drop Rodgers for Darnold.
Sorry, one more story to go back to. We're watching highlights in the background, Andrew, where you're doing your update.
Yeah, not listening. Yeah, right.
Victor Wembanyama is hitting 3-pointers. Corey Kispert is covering him. What is going on here? You don't deserve. I'm not even crediting him for 50 points against Washington Commanders basketball, whatever their name is. That doesn't count.
Washington Commanders basketball.
The Washington Basketball Club.
The Washington basketball team. They stink. That doesn't even mean anything to me.
How can you again? You have a pending cross-country trip to apologize to this guy, and now you're dismissing a 50-point game?
I know.
That's an asterisk.
So
that's an asterisk. That does not count.
Because you saw a couple of highlights? What are you talking about?
I'm looking at the guys who are covering him.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Corey Kispert can't cover me.
What?
And he's 6'6". What is he doing on Wemby?
Well, everyone's shorter than Wemby, so that's always going to be everyone on the floor. But what was the Raptors' record the day that they gave up 81 to Kobe?
They had Tracy McGrady. They had Jalen Rose. That team was
two
good.
guys not known for defense.
Tracy McGrady, by the way, definitely not on the Raptors.
He wasn't on that team.
No.
Definitely not.
Vince Carter.
Wait. I recall. I've seen. What year was Kobe game?
It was
that was a good team.
2005, I think.
No,
that was one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yes, no one thinks about the record of the team that you do it against. That's not a thing.
They misspelled the guys' names on the box score on the statue. Nobody knows or cares about that team.
I mean, that game was 2006.
They called him Johnny Calderon instead of Jose Calderon. Whatever the hell his name was.
So Jalen Rose was in that game.
Yeah.
So was Chris Bosh, Matt Bonner, Charlie Villanueva came off the bench.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Matt Bonner, Corey Kispert, same. Come on now.
855-212-4227.
Two guard though. I mean,
you can't hold it against Wemby because they happen to be playing the Washington Commanders basketball team.
I can and I will.
LeBron because you played 35 minutes at the rec league.
I can and I will. If there's any team I can hold it against, there is no more irrelevant franchise in all four professional sports than the Washington Wizards. And you know that, Maggie, because you were there.
I was there when they were good, which meant winning a playoff series. 855-212-4227. Okay, lots more to do, including we check in with our favorite college football coach.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining.
Maggie and Perloff, never off track. He's cheering for Vegas all season long, but there's a twist in this song that's gone wrong. Oh, Peter Bloody, where did you go? You're like a ghost in the studio. Artie's here cheering, all Raiders pride, but Peter's missing again. He's denied. My screams just win, baby, like Al Davis said. But Peter Bellatti's still stuck in bed. Maggie and Perloff, they're holding the fort, while Peter's clocking zero in the attendance report. Oh, Peter Bellotti, where did you go? You're like a ghost in the studio. Body's here cheering, all Raiders pride, but Peter's missing again. He's denied.
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Do you believe that? Deion.
You believe that?
To be honest, I feel a lot better about this segment when they're 7-2, Colorado, than when they were 4 and whatever. Okay, Shedeur Sanders, big game coming up this weekend against Utah for the Buffaloes, but that's not what caught our attention. He was on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast, Perloff, and had this to say about Shedeur, his son's future in the NFL.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said you're going to be dad. You're going to be dad. You're going to be dad.
I'm dad. Cows come home. Yes, sir. And with Travis as well.
Okay, so Deion was asked if he would get involved if a team he didn't like or thought was wrong, I think is how Keyshawn put it. If the wrong team, I don't know what that means, but the wrong team wanted to draft Shedeur and obviously Travis, that he would quietly, privately intervene.
So what do we know what that means? Like what kind of team? Because I'm looking at the top picks. It's Jacksonville's not going to go QB, but Giants seems like a mess. Tennessee seems like a mess. Cleveland seems like a super mess. Vegas is always a mess. New Orleans. When you look at the top teams at the draft, how much, where's he going to steer him? I don't know if there's anywhere to steer him to.
Well, it's funny because the Giants used to be a place that a team that you would steer someone
Eli
to, like Eli Manning. There. But the Giants have been one of the worst teams in the NFL over the past 8 years. Sorry, Manny.
Carolina, I'm dying to know behind the scenes where Deion wants him to go.
Well, I'm dying to know what their criteria is for the wrong teams. I think I understand, right? Like Cleveland, it seems like they will mess up a quarterback situation. And do you want to deal with the Deshaun Watson fallout? Because you're going to be there for the end of it. And it's probably going to get pretty messy. I don't know.
I mean, Vegas.
The Jets, I doubt he wants him going to the Jets. Sorry, EJ.
Vegas seems like they're quite dysfunctional. It's fair to say. The thing with New Orleans is they have this terrible cap situation and no talent on their roster. That can't be a desired home. I don't know. Does he try and get them to a team that's on the bottom half of the draft? Would he actually say, what if he did this and said, I don't care if he goes 16th. I want him to be in the right team. I don't know if Deion would do that. I think he wants
Seattle or something.
Yeah, something that would be a radical move. That would be a big fall from where he's in mock draft. Right now, you see him 1, 2, or 3 in most mock drafts. Can you imagine if Deion's hey, you know what? I want him in Indianapolis at 14 or something like that.
So the other part of this, though, is we've talked about this with other guys. Trevor Lawrence, would he try to throw his weight around? Caleb Williams, would he try to throw his weight around? Guys aren't doing it.
Yeah, but they don't have Deion Sanders as their dad.
I get it, but Deion's already polarizing. Are you going to make it harder on your son if he seems to be if it seems like you're all pulling some kind of diva move? Do you have Shedeur then enter the NFL and people are already kind of down on him or negative on him?
No. Those rules don't apply to Shedeur Sanders and Deion. The guy just pulls up in Boulder, Colorado in a Maybach. You think that he has any fear of being labeled a diva?
No, the celebration is holding up a fancy watch in the camera.
Yeah, they've evolved way past diva status, and they embrace the diva status. I think one thing that's kind of funny about them, and he plays like this, he knows who he is, and he thinks he's a special person, and he has all the confidence in the world. I think you're drafting that. I think you almost want that. So I don't think that's a big problem in that particular situation. But when you think of the desired places, you think a lot of people want to go to Miami. They're not going to have a high draft pick. A lot of people.
Well, they have Tua. They just paid him.
Right, I know. Well, but that's the thing. There's not the desirable places are not the teams that are drafting quarterbacks. So I don't know who Deion's going to steer him to.
Well, the other part too is if you're really desiring the Miami Dolphins, what are you desiring? It's a team who hasn't won a playoff game since the turn of the century.
Deion's from Florida, That's what I mean.
And you should want to go to Tampa, but they just gave Baker an extension.
That's actually, and again, another situation where you have to wait a long time for Tampa to be able to draft.
Tampa would be picking 14th right now. The draft was today.
Yeah. Well, I think, though, Miami's a little more appealing, the east side of the state, than Tampa's a bit sleepy compared to Miami.
Poor people just had this terrible hurricane, too.
The draw of South Beach, and that's a celebrity city. Atlanta with Deion, although they are just drafted quarterback. I don't know where he's going to pull him.
I think Vegas is I think they would, even though Vegas is not a great team, feels a bit dysfunctional. It's clear they need a quarterback. You don't have to go in and fight with anybody. You'd be looked at as a savior. You get to be in Vegas.
Totally disagree.
Really?
I just think that is a scary place to go.
Got Brock Bowers now. Michael Mayer's back after 7 weeks?
Michael Mayer is back?
I don't know.
Let's go there. I hear what you're saying. It is Vegas.
There's an upside. There's an upside. 855-212-4227. All right, coming up, we're going to throw a twist at you on this Thursday.
Maybach.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Guy we know, he talks games every day. But there's more to this fella, in a secret kind of way. When the bright lights shine and the curtains rise, there's a glimmer of Broadway in his eye. They say he's a fan, but that's only the start. 'Cause Broadway's his passion, it's deep in his heart. Andrew Perloff, Broadway's biggest fan. knows every tune, every line, every plan. From Les Mis to Rent and Wicked Spell, he's humming the hits like he's under their spell. He dreams of the stage where the stars sing high, where he'd belt out a note, raise his arms to the sky. He could be Phantom, he could be Jean Valjean, or rap with the best in a Hamilton song. And though he's on sports talk, Uncle Sam's got his turkey day plans, sipping bourbon from a can, yeah, that's his stance. He's got the Maggie and Perloff show on blast, feeling thankful and tipsy, talking fast. Uncle Sam, he's the man with a drink in his hand and a wild family plan, chatting up a storm about freedom and fuss, complaining about censorship and making a fuss. Daly's in the chat, shouting out loud, hey, let us be free, don't censor the crowd. But Drunkle just laughs with a grin and a wink. He's got Maggie and Perloff and plenty to drink. Drunkle Sam, he's the man with the pumpkin pie and a turkey day tan. Bourbon in his cup, he's our #1 fan, raising a glass to the Maggie and Perloff clan. So here's to Drunkle, all merry and bold, with Thanksgiving cheer and chat uncontrolled. He's loud, he's proud, a fan through and through. Cheers, Uncle Sam. Oh, yo. L.O. Man, he's got a wishful bass swinging with flair. Behind the glass, he's waving it in the air. Now that's bright yellow, could do some harm. If he's not careful, it'll raise the alarm. EJ sitting close, looking a bit tense. He knows one wrong move could be at his expense. Man, he swings wild like he's aiming to score. EJ's ducking low, getting ready to hit the floor. Oh, maybe put that bat away, someone's bound to get hurt today. Peter Belotti's missing again, so much for counting on our old friend. Man, he's in the zone like he's up in the plate, but one wrong swing and it could seal EJ's fate. The yellow bat's twirling, it's like a storm. EJ's leaning back, trying to keep warm. Where's Peter Bellotti? Not a soul knows. He's
Aya Maya Leaba. 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 Aya Met.
1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Week 11, the NFL kicks off with a doozy. Washington Commanders, Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It's not just the only headliner from the weekend, though. You've also got the Bills and the Chiefs going head-to-head this weekend. You've also got the Ravens and the Steelers going head-to-head this weekend. this is going to be something.
Yeah, it's I don't know what
Seahawks 49ers.
What we're going to learn. I feel like tonight's game is a big, hey, who's for real game. You know?
I'm sorry, Bengals and Chargers are also this weekend.
Yeah, let's just focusing on tonight. I feel like if the Commanders win this game, we're not just talking about Rookie of the Year. Like, whoa, is this team like a real threat in the NFC? I don't think they're there yet myself. Like, I'd be surprised, but they could really get a lot of respect because we haven't seen a lot of Jayden Daniels in the national spotlight. He hasn't had a lot of standalone games.
You're
It's
absolutely right.
Kind of a big deal.
Yep, it's a big deal for him. I mean, the last time I feel like we saw him on a national game, it was a win over the Cincinnati Bengals in prime time. Remember that game? And it was a big deal that the Commanders went to Cincinnati and beat the Bengals.
But it was a little different because we didn't quite know who they were. Like, now that they're contenders in the national spotlight, it was kind of a cute story back then. Now it's like, whoa, this guy could be the real deal. Like, remember MVP talk? I think that's cooled down a little bit, but they win this game, like, oh my God, it's going to be the sky's the limit for the Jayden Daniels hype.
Yeah, and you're going to get a lot of should the Bears have drafted Jayden Daniels and a whole referendum on the draft. You're also going to get to see the Jalen Hurts side of this, which is who really are the best teams in the NFC. We know Dallas and the Giants are going to go by the wayside here in the NFC East, but do they compare to the Lions? Do you guys compare to the 49ers? Do you compare to the good NFC teams?
Yeah.
Are you one of the good NFC teams? I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at last year's NFC players. There's really three teams, the Lions, the Packers, and the Niners. I do not know how the Eagles fit. I really don't know. And I don't even know if the Niners are in that list anymore.
Well, what's funny about the Eagles, they have this 5-game winning streak, but it's been the Browns, the Giants, the Bengals, the Jaguars, and then last week against the Cowboys with no Dak Prescott. I mean, it's impressive anytime you win 5 in a row, but then you look a little closer at the opponent. It's like, well, you should have won those games.
The win at Cincinnati, that was impressive.
37-17, it was a blowout, kind of.
Yeah, that was quite surprising, to be honest. Like, I did not see that coming.
So that gets going tonight. However, we'll talk more about that game as the show goes on. Usually, guys, if you listen to our show, and thank you to everyone who does listen, we do appreciate you so much. On Wednesdays, we do something called The Great Debate. And yesterday was a gangbusters one. We've got this Mike Tyson-Jake Paul boxing match brewing on Friday night on Netflix. And so it's gotten us kind of back into the fight mood. So yesterday we asked you, what's the greatest boxing match of all time? And we had a lot of different answers, and the callers were fantastic. People in the chat, on YouTube and Twitch, on Twitter too. Today we want to bring you a bonus great debate that has nothing to do with real boxing.
The Great Debate Series.
I should say this great debate has nothing to do with real boxing, much like the fight we are going to see on Friday between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, because this is going to be a spectacle. Not sure how good the boxing is actually going to be. Okay, today's bonus great debate. What is the greatest fictional fight you've ever seen? The greatest on-screen fight. And it doesn't just have to be boxing here. The greatest on-screen fight you've ever seen.
Wow. So, could be movie. I assume we were talking movies.
Movies, TV shows, whatever you want.
This is my favorite side bit. When Perloff learns of the theme
It's not a bit.
on the air.
It's not a bit.
Well, this is actually, it's funny.
He's actually selling it well that he's...
But the funny thing is, too, like, there was a lot of discussion about what's a fight. Like, are we talking about, like, a fake boxing match? Are we talking about two dudes just throwing down in an office building? And it was really Maggie's call. It could be any form of fight. It can involve any kind of weapons, just a fight.
Maggie appreciates all violence, as we've learned.
Like, guys, why limit ourselves?
Yeah. I was like, okay. So I went there. I'm like, there's actually only a few fake boxing matches out there in movies.
I need to see something bloody.
Yeah, exactly. And EJ goes, well, what about Razor Bull? True story. What about this? True story. What's the one with Russell Crowe as a boxer?
Beautiful Mind. No. Cinderella Man. Sorry. Cinderella Man.
Yeah, true story. Anyway. So
they were solving math equations in between rounds.
Maybe I'm a simple person, but if we're doing the best fake fight and we're talking about boxing, it's got to be a fake boxing match. And if you're doing a fake boxing match, there's only one.
There's one thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here. Win.
Win.
Oh, boy.
What are we waiting for? Take this!
There I was, young Andrew Perloff, 2018 Minnesota, third quarter. Tom Brady's starting to catch fire, and that comes on the screen, and the Philadelphia Eagles get inspired. It is the greatest fight movie of all time, the most inspirational scene. That was actually Rocky 2, but I'm picking Rocky 1. Rocky and Apollo go to a draw. It's the greatest fight scene. It is, first of all, wonderfully choreographed. Even to go to a draw with Apollo Creed, Maggie, you have to give Rocky credit for that because Apollo was the all-time champ. I mean, he had no weaknesses in his game. This is the greatest fight ever. Incredible performance by Rocky Balboa.
Playing himself.
Bogus, sorry, I've been talking to Bogus. I think we need a disqualification.
Why is that?
Because number one, we played a clip from Rocky 2, and you're saying Rocky 1. And then also, Apollo won the first fight. It wasn't a draw.
Yeah, I know, and I'm a big Apollo. Oh, you're right. It was a draw. Yeah, but
A Beautiful Mind 2, starring Andrew Perloff.
Listen,
I was thinking, how many people like Manny's age who probably know Rocky but would have never gone back to watch the movie from the 70s probably think Rocky wins the first fight.
Yeah, I forgot. You're right. He lost. In my mind, it was a draw.
Great movie, though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
Best screenwriter.
That is not the point of Rocky 1, who won the fight. Nobody was like...
Thank goodness.
EJ's got a good one.
But you're laughing like you're some movie genius here. Most people think Rocky won the first fight.
You were just saying how great it was that it was a draw. Like they deserve credit for not making Rocky win, and it wasn't a draw.
I judged the fight myself. It was pretty much a draw. It was pretty much a draw.
Had the scorecards.
That was an all-time moment. Okay.
There's a lot of laughing like you are the smartest person in the world in today's show. Like, guys, get over yourselves, all right? Yeah. These are minor mistakes.
You picked the wrong movie.
I didn't pick the wrong movie. I just like that clip better. And by the way, what's the difference? These are fake fights. It's an Apollo Creed Rocky fight. Apollo and Rocky are going at it. Does it really matter which one it is?
I love that. Perloff, whenever he gets something wrong, it's just like, is that even a big deal? It's like, well,
my God.
It's your choice.
Listen. There is. We could talk about the greatest sports debate ever. Somebody screws up a stat, all of a sudden 4 heads lift up, dying to correct that person. It's such a Gen X thing or whatever, a millennial thing.
You know what?
We got to go to the Perloff checklist whenever he's in battles.
You make mistakes all the time, and I just let them go by.
I laughed at A Beautiful Mind.
The other part, too, is I said I thought that the Forrest Gump movie I thought it was a remake of Forrest Gump, and you guys rightfully laughed about that for a week.
Bogus acted like it was New Year's. He was so excited about
that. This is another thing about Perloff, foxhole guy. You get stuff all wrong all the time, and I let it slide. Thanks, partner.
Whatever. You're the one, Bogus, who went out as Cooper Flag with 26 points and 2 rebounds. I'm like, what are you 20? It says right. And I only corrected
12.
You. Yeah, I only corrected you. Well, actually, I don't even know if I did because I knew you were going to do another update later, and I wanted to make sure you had it right. But I wasn't like, yay, Bogus got one wrong.
So you think that's the same thing as going, here's a clip from Rocky, but Rocky 2 is my pick. And wasn't it so great that they had him draw in the first fight? What a great cinematic decision. P.S. They didn't draw. Apollo won.
No, that is not a big deal.
Wait, hold on.
Maybe not a big deal.
Maybe EJ was doing you the same favor. He didn't want you to say again and keep making the same mistake that there was a draw when Apollo won the first fight. He might have been doing the same thing you did to Bogan.
Well,
I just want Apollo Creed to get the credit he deserves.
Right. I don't know.
Here's what I'll do. I just won't listen when you talk like you listen when I talk.
A lot of people think the judges screwed that one up.
Some people are saying.
I kind of agree with that, to be honest.
Some people are saying. All right, we're doing a bonus great
debate. Ain't going to be no
today.
rematch. Don't want one.
Bonus great debate.
That's I wanted to play.
Which is officially been derailed. But let's keep going. Yesterday, we did the greatest boxing matches of all time. Today, we're doing the greatest fictional fights of all time. Best on-screen fights. I didn't go to the ring. No squared circles, nothing like that. The greatest on-screen fight of all time happened in a movie called Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. And that fight was so epic, this is what the aftermath sounded like.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah, I stabbed a man in the heart.
I saw that. Brick killed a guy. Did you throw a trident?
Yeah, there were horses and a man on fire, and I killed a guy with a trident.
Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You should find yourself a safe house or a relative close by. Lay low for a while because you're probably wanted for murder.
Perfect. Perfect after that. So
I don't know if we can continue this segment because nothing's topping that.
That's
I mean,
a perfect movie.
Yeah.
it's Will Ferrell and Steve
Honestly.
Carell and David Koechner and Paul Rudd, but also in the fight scene is Vince Vaughn, Luke Wilson, Tim Robbins, and Ben Stiller. It's an all-time fight scene. The best fictional fight of all time was in Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Go ahead, EJ.
Okay, so I was torn because I'm even though I'm a kid of the 90s, my dad is a kid of the 70s, so he loved Bruce Lee. And I really wanted to go with Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee won almost all the fights. I really couldn't figure out which one would be the best one, so I'm moving away from Bruce Lee. I'm going back to, some more home cooking here. I'm going with what is the most epic final scene maybe in a movie ever, particularly an action movie. I'm going with the Avengers versus Thanos.
Avengers!
Assemble.
So I'm going with that scene in Avengers Endgame. Essentially, the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe basically comes together to stop Thanos from once again erasing half of existence. The entire galaxy was on the line. We lost a great hero in Iron Man in this fight. We saw some epic moments. You had Captain America holding Thor's shield. You had Black Panther fighting Thanos. You had Captain Marvel in the mix. This is an epic final scene. And to me, it is the greatest fight scene of all time.
So I have a question. Who's Thanos?
Oh, gosh.
Manny, you're up next. The greatest fictional
All right.
fight scene of all time. Yes.
And you might want to issue a nerd alert next time you're going to do one like that.
Also, EJ, what a rope-a-dope. You can't set people up with Bruce Lee and then finish off with the
Yeah.
Avengers.
Show 'em love.
Avengers Unite.
In case
Okay.
nobody says Bruce Lee, I want to show Bruce Lee love.
For the coolest person on our staff, you definitely pick the nerdiest things time and time again, which is amazing about you.
All right, Manny, we're doing a bonus great debate, the greatest fictional fight of all time. This is inspired by Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul on Friday. What is it?
All right, the option that won't make the poll. I've got I've got a fictional fight that actually really happened. The Germans against the Americans. The final scene of one of my favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan. The death of Captain John Miller. One great
Manny.
final fight scene.
What, sir?
James. Earn this. Earn it.
Explosions, gunfiring, people dying, all up in my area. What a fight scene, a final fight scene. Saving Private Ryan.
You know World War II actually did happen, though, right? You're aware of this.
It happened in 1999, right?
It was called Nick's Bulls.
Strong disagree on that.
What?
Saved by Ryan, best opening 25 minutes of any movie ever.
I thought you were going to go with the
worst-
opening scene.
Yeah.
I can't
The last
do it.
hour and a half, not great. I was not a fan. I thought they had this great scene, and then it was so hard to make a narrative for the rest of
This
the
is
movie.
why I boo you behind your back.
The Tom Hanks scene, I didn't love it.
I can't even
the opening
talk
scene
about
was
the
amazing.
opening scene of Saving Private Ryan
The opening
without
scene is
bursting
so
into tears.
epic, but that's real. I mean, that's that was almost like a documentary.
Ugh.
And also, too, there's too many real elements. I'm gonna ding you on this one. There's a lot of real, there was, I don't know.
Oh, so now we set rules.
He's got the Avenger. Manny goes to
in my
historical
mind-
fact, and we don't love it.
In my mind, Apollo vs. Rocky was also real, but anyway.
Bogush.
Happened in the third movie, too.
Okay.
I'll bring us back.
Our bonus great debate today, the greatest fictional fight of all time.
Well, in honor of my friend Andrew Perloff, my pick is Jaws, but here's a clip from Happy Gilmore.
We haven't seen Happy Gilmore play this badly since his first day on tour. He and Bob Barker are now dead last.
I can't believe you're a professional golfer. I think you should be working at the snack bar. You better relax, Bob. There is no way that you could have been as bad at hockey as you are at golf.
All right, let's go. Oh! You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. Oh!
You know how it ends.
Wow.
The Price is Wrong bleep. The judges not needed for this one. Bob Barker winning by KO with a boot to the face of Happy Gilmore.
The best is the crowd. The crowd reaction.
Oh.
Ooh. Bob Barker versus Happy Gilmore is an all-time fight scene. One-sided, but still.
Yeah, that's the only downside. It wasn't much of a fight.
All right, there you go.
Also a real feeling to that. I could see Bob Barker kicking someone's butt.
I mean, what a cameo by Bob Barker.
Perloff, what did Sandler say about getting his derriere kicked by Bob Barker?
Yeah, we didn't get into it.
Unfortunate. What do you think he would say?
Such a brilliant scene.
You're asking for an impression? Hey, no, I don't know. I'd take on to Berman. Andy, you know, when I was fighting Bob Barker and Happy Gilmore, now that was sort of like my cousin Vinny. What's going on there? I don't know. I can't really do impressions.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
Now you admit you can't do the impressions. I'm just kidding.
By the way, how Perloff feels about Bogish is how I feel about Cap right now.
Why? What did he put in the chat?
Because now he's upset because when I said Captain America grabbed Thor's, I said shield, I meant hammer. And he's giving me a lot of crap for it right now.
Good grief, EJ. Get your act together.
Listen, I want to say Mjolnir, but I thought people were like, what's that? So now I'm talking fast, and I said shield, and I meant hammer.
If you're in the chat, by the way, Cap is the true petty king, even more than Bogus. That dude, like, you cannot get anything by him. You know what I mean, Maggie?
Cap
like,
is the ombudsman / roast master of this show.
He's also like kind of a genius, so that kind of hurts too. He seems to know everything.
And he gets to just sit back there, no microphone, no camera, no accountability.
We never get to pick him apart, and he just sits there all show long and be like, well, you got that wrong. That was stupid.
Well, by the way, he not only said EJ was wrong, he put it in all caps, so he's shouting at you, too. Okay, so you're welcome to weigh in. The greatest fictional fight of all time. We left a couple out there. You mentioned Jaws. Not a bad one, Bogish.
Wait. What fight in Jaws?
Them
Roy
versus
Scheider versus the shark. He blows the shark up with a shotgun.
The mayor versus Roy Scheider. About
I don't know.
closing the beaches.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
Is that a fight? Like, would you Roy Scheider versus the shark?
Definitely. There's some other ones out there. I see you guys in the chat. You're putting some awesome ideas in. The greatest fictional fight of all time. Again, this is inspired by Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Their fictional fight is happening on Friday, but it's actually been sanctioned by the state of Texas.
But we learned this morning that in here in New York, you cannot bet on that fight. New York is not sanctioning it, at least from a betting perspective, because the rules are so fugazi.
Interesting.
What about the state of New Jersey and or Connecticut?
There are no rules in Jersey, so feel free.
Thank goodness.
Cross that border, baby.
Weehawken, and here I come.
Said no one ever. Okay, we see you guys. Great debate today. Bonus debate. Greatest fictional fight of all time.
You're in a 5-minute break.
I'll never stop, no, I'll never be done talking about Peter Bellotti, the missing one. Day after day, his shirt's empty and cold, but I'll keep singing cause the truth's been told. Oh, glorious, they say I've lost my way, but I don't care, I'll talk about Peter all day. You think it's a problem, well maybe that's true, but I'll never quit, I'm stuck like glue. I say I've lost my way, but I don't care, I'll talk about Peter all day. You think it's a problem, well maybe that's true, but I'll never quit, yeah, I'm stuck like glue. Peter Bellotti's gone, is he dodging the fight? Or just taking naps, avoiding the light? I don't need help, I'm doing just fine, I keep rapping about Peter till the end of time. But I don't care, I'll talk about Peter all day. You think it's a problem, well maybe watching the fight, or just taking naps, avoiding the light. I don't need help, I'm doing just fine. I'll keep racing by Peter till the end of time.
Pine Needles wakes up at dawn, coffee brewing, screen turned on. He's got a favorite show to see, the Maggie and Perloff Symphony. Oh, Pine Needles are tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your life. From highlights to the breaking news, every take you can't refuse. In the chat, he's always there with comments, questions, wisdom to share. Oh, Pine Needles, you're tuned in tight to Infinity Sports Radio every night. Maggie and Perloff, your daily delight. In their words, you find your light. When the games get tough and the stakes are high,
Maggie woke up, felt a change in the air. Reached for his razor, didn't have a care. He shaved it off, that iconic mustache. Now he's just a face, lost in the mass. How many ways did you go? Without your mustache, we just don't know. Bring back the charm, the style, the flair. Grow it back, Maggie. Show us you can.
Oh, yo. L.O. Man, he's got a wishful bat swinging with flair. Behind the glass, he's waving it in the air. That bat's bright yellow, could do some harm. If he's not careful, it'll raise the alarm. EJ sitting close, looking a bit tense. He knows one wrong move could be at his expense. Man, he swings wild like he's aiming to score. EJ's ducking low, getting ready to hit the floor. Oh, man, he put that bat away. Someone's bound to get hurt today. Peter Belotti's missing again. So much for counting on a old friend.
30 seconds
Man, he's in the
remaining.
zone like he's up in the plate. But one wrong swing and it can seal each.
Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Getting you a little fired up on a Thursday morning. Of course, the Eagles play tonight. I don't think that's why you're doing it, though. Manny, you are playing that music because we are doing something on the greatest fictional fight of all time. Mostly, I think we all did movies. So yesterday we did the greatest boxing match because Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul on Friday. So we want to discuss the greatest boxing match because that is the worst boxing match. But we did fictional fights, and we ran the gamut. I got to be honest. I thought this was fake boxing matches, and you guys went in totally different directions, which is cool.
So Perloff picked Rocky, obviously. I think you're contractually obligated being from Philadelphia. I went with the fight scene in Anchorman. EJ went with the Avengers. Manny went with Saving Private Ryan just to bring everything to a grinding halt.
That's
and then
right.
Bogish picked things back up with Happy Gilmore versus Bob Barker. And so those are some of the scenes. But we see you guys in the chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, and on the phones as well. Nobody picked Fight Club, which is interesting because it's got fight right in the name, and it's one of the more bizarre.
Yeah.
But what would be the actual fight?
Right.
Would
I
it
don't
have
think
been
there's one iconic fight.
Edward Norton versus Jared Leto, but that's really just Norton kind of just beating him up. And
I mean, there's a million fight movies. Like, yeah, Fight Club, you're right, doesn't have like one epic scene. I brought up a movie that you guys have 1,000% never heard of. Clint Eastwood used to play a street fighter named Fido Beto. He did like 3 movies where he would just, and there was one scene, the last 40 minutes was a street fight. It was epic. And he had of course, he had a chimp was his right-hand man.
Yeah, right. I've heard
that
of
used to happen.
The orangutan or something.
Yeah, that's
right?
what the 80s was all about. Turn left, Clyde. It's a famous line, but yeah, if you're under 75, you probably never heard of that.
Let's get to you guys on the phones. You've got some great ones. Wilson is in California. Wilson, what's the greatest fictional fight of all time?
Well, first, just for Andrew, a Rocky one. I must break you. Anyway, enough of that. My choice, though.
Whatever he hits, he destroys.
That's right. Bridget Nielsen was in that, too. But the movie I'm thinking of was out of Gladiator, and it was a scene with Maximus going up against the undefeated Titus of Gore. And it had the tigers coming out from under the ground, and it was just an incredible scene, an incredible the effects. I mean, it had everything.
And how about this, Wilson? And thank you for the phone call. And Gladiator 2 is that in theaters now?
It's coming up. I am so not into that. That is a movie that I don't think needed a sequel. Are you guys excited for Denzel and Gladiator 2?
I keep hearing that he's good, but the movie's terrible.
That's exactly what I expected.
There's no way he's going to be bad. He's Denzel Washington. I don't think he's capable of making a bad movie.
No, has he ever had a bad scene in any movie? The guy is rock solid. But why do a sequel to Gladiator? We kind of know what happened. The Roman Empire fell. Okay, fine.
Maybe there's a twist. I'm not sure. Adrian's in Maryland. Adrian, what's the greatest fictional fight of all time?
Hey, guys, we're forgetting. Come on. It's almost Friday, so we got to go with Friday. You got Craig and Debo. You got Debo knocking out Red. You got Debo chasing the pimp. They got so many ones in those Fridays. But I got one I just thought of is Patrick Swayze and Roadhouse.
Oh, yeah. Nobody could throw a fake punch like Patrick Swayze.
You know what, Adrian, we've got a clip from Friday. This is Debo versus Craig.
Now who's the punk?
He think he a Mac.
Macaroni.
You got knocked the out, man.
Oh, my gosh. Adrian, great ones. Thanks for chiming in. And, yeah, we're taking your greatest fictional fights of all time.
Where's Chris Tucker now?
That's a great question.
The fact that he won't go back to the Friday franchise is such a shame. And we don't really quite know why.
Is he doing stand-up?
He's been doing stand-up. He's Rush Hour 4 is apparently happening. That's a thing.
Here.
But he won't do normal movies. Like, he could be in 2 movies a year, and he's never wanted to do that, right?
I kind of appreciate that, though. Like, he's made a lot of money. I think he's probably set, right? I mean, they play Rush Hour literally 100 times a day on TNT.
Rush Hour's on 3 different TVs right now.
Right, exactly. So the residuals he's getting off that, he probably could never work again.
And I am paying off those residuals every single time that sucker's on Turner.
Same.
You know, there's a lot of things. Jackie Chan, speaking of Rush Hour, so Jackie Chan's fight scenes, Jean-Claude Van Damme's fight scenes. Jet Li, Steven Seagal. We've got a lot of people out there that we have not gotten to yet. So keep them coming.
Steven Seagal.
I don't know. I was thinking of.
No, you're right, but it's just like.
Famous fight
Who
scenes.
didn't fit into that group of amazing,
Still Tom Hanks.
Has Tom Hanks ever had a fight scene besides Saving Private Ryan, but he's one of many?
An actual fight scene.
Yeah, didn't he punch somebody in Forrest Gump, the Black Panther?
That's
true. Right. That scene where he's trying to rescue Jenny.
Didn't he punch Buzz Lightyear's shield as well?
Oh, you're right.
Oh,
Those hammer.
Woody.
Yeah, the Buzz's hammer. That's right.
Bogish, why don't we have some headlines? We'll keep them coming. The greatest fictional fights of all time.
So 4 out of 5 dentists recommend mouthwash. 4 out of 5 of us recommend you be impressed by Victor Wembanyama last night.
Ball gets a screen from Branham. To the left wing, Branham pounding out a right-hand dribble, looking for Wemby. He's got it high post against Corey Kispert. Pivots, faces up, long 2. Shot is good for Victor Wembanyama. 50 points for Victor Wembanyama, a career high. As the Spurs lead it 115-98.
But it was easy. Anybody could have done it. Bill Schoening on Spurs Radio. Wemby with his first 50-burger, also hitting a career-high 8 threes in a 139-130 home win over the Wizards. But he was not the last night's highest scorer in the league.
Inbound pass to Giannis. Giannis with 16 seconds to work with. Drives inside and stuffs it down with the right hand. 59 points now for Giannis. He's tapping his chest as he goes the other way, saying, "This is my house. This is my house."
That's Dave Kane on Bucks Radio. Giannis is 59, the most in the NBA this season, the second most of his career, and included 11 points in OT to close out a 127-120 home win over the Pistons. Here's the spin doctor post-game.
He just kept us in the game single-handedly with his play. You know, it's funny with Giannis. Not only did Giannis have to score, he actually had to be our point guard as well.
And he had 7 assists plus 14 rebounds on top of those 59 points.
The spin doctor's back.
Dance break?
No, I just love an excuse to play. We could play the spin doctor when the Bucks are bad. Why do we have to have them win to play it?
But typically, he has to make an excuse for us to play.
Right.
No, we'll play it when they're bad, too.
But was that an excuse? That was sort of
No.
Yeah.
He's just the spin doctor.
Yeah, no, any excuse to play that.
The Cavaliers' perfect start is now 13 games after a 114-106 final in Philly. The Lakers stayed perfect at home, 6-0, 128-123 over the Grizzlies. LeBron, 35 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists to become the oldest player ever with 3 triple-doubles in a row. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 29 as the Thunder took care of the Pelicans, 106-88, and the Clippers lost in Houston, 111-103. Thursday Night Football has the Eagles hosting the Commanders. Philly sits atop the NFC East thanks to 5 straight wins. Washington has 1 more loss than them at the moment. The Raiders came back from their bye yesterday and said that Gardner Minshew remains their starting QB. He was pulled for Desmond Ridder the last time they played. And finally, we get to some overtime hockey in Toronto.
Marner kicks at it, but it comes right out in front. Shot, big save made, and a race for the loose puck. Goaltender coming out, no. Here's Tavares in on a breakaway and a goal. Scores! Johnny Toronto scores!
Joe Bowen on Leafs Radio. John Tavares getting Toronto a 4-3 win in Washington. The Red Wings got a 3-2 win in OT in Pittsburgh. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thanks so much. Keep them coming on the greatest fictional fights of all time. The Princess Bride has come up a couple different times.
That's a good one.
Inigo Montoya and Carrie Elves. I can't remember.
Was that the fight from what we're talking about?
The sword fight?
Yeah. Oh, that one at the end?
Mm-hmm.
I like the one where he's fighting the guy, Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah.
That's not the fight at the end. That's the...
Yeah. Isn't the sword fight at the end of the movie?
Inigo Montoya.
Yeah.
You killed my father.
No, Inigo Montoya kills the bad guy at the end of the movie. He fights somebody else. That's midway through the movie.
Oh, I guess it's midway. Okay.
There's an Andre the Giant fight in there, too.
There's the
isn't there?
Andre the Giant fight scene, too. That's what I
Yeah.
thought about when he jumps on his back. Anyway, I'm a huge Princess Bride fan.
We also have, there is a Roddy Piper famous fight.
The Thing or whatever it's called, Hidden. What's that movie called?
I gotta find it.
I love that movie.
This is where Pete needs to come in, chime in. But yeah. So
They Live.
Wait, we said
They Live.
Roddy Piper?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Roddy Piper versus Keith David in the movie They Live. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheese sandwiches in the chat. And Ray said Wesley versus Inigo Montoya in Princess Bride. There you go.
There's also Macho Man versus Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1.
Or Hulk Hogan versus Rocky in Rocky 3.
Yes.
What about
that
just-
wasn't much of a fight. Thunderlips killed him.
And Bonesaw was the character that Macho Man played in Spider-Man 1.
There's a line brawl and slap shot where the guy ends up stripping in the middle of it. That's good, too.
Slapshot.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
855-212-4227. Russ is in California. Russ, what's the greatest fictional fight scene?
This got to be the all-time greatest one right here. It's Bruce Lee versus Kareem in Enter the Dragon.
You know, I've actually never seen the movie, but I know the fight scene exists, and I know how crazy it looks because Kareem's got this incredible wingspan. Is the rest of the movie good, Russ, or is it just that fight scene?
Oh, no, that Bruce Lee, that's like the iconic martial arts movie of all time, Enter the Dragon.
Well, remember...
So, I've never seen it. You got to check it out.
All right, I got
Well,
my
it's
weekend.
important, though. The fight scene with Kareem was in Game of Death. Enter
the Dragon.
And Dragon's a different movie. That's his most iconic movie. But Game of Death also is an awesome movie. But we did get that confused sometimes.
The Green Zone is in the chat. It says Austin Powers versus Mini-Me.
Oh, yeah. That was good.
Remember what a big deal those movies were? Maybe it was just the time in my life.
No, they were
kinda
very
went away.
popular.
855-212-4227. So that's our bonus great debate today, the greatest fictional fight of all time, and that is based on the upcoming sort of real fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
We got to make a distinction here. Are guns allowed to be in the fight? Does John Wick get in this conversation?
I thought about John Wick.
It's no holds bar, Pearl.
Because it's a little different. Like, I have Apollo going against Rocky, and compared to a scene where John Wick shoots 47 people.
Well, listen, we don't want to be painted into any kind of criteria with this one.
I got Saving Private Ryan, man.
Yeah.
Manny.
Bogus tried to sell the guy versus Jaws.
Was it not a fight?
I don't know if that's a fight exactly.
What was it? Wasn't a play date?
I don't know. I feel like Roy Scheider had to kind of cheat in that one. He kind of got the air tank in his teeth. If they fought,
cheat against a 25-foot great white shark?
The shark was gonna eat them all.
Right.
No, I understand.
Surviving.
But it wasn't exactly a fight per se. Like
it was brilliant. You got to blow up the shark.
Yeah, no, I'm very aware of the movie. I don't know if I consider that like. Do you remember when that guy fought the shark? I guess
in Jaws, yeah.
What did you think? Richard Dreyfuss was going to blow the whistle and be like, "Time out. This is against the rules."
How did the judges score? Oh, a draw, just like Apollo.
There we go. Big Friendly is in the chat, says 3 o'clock high fight, Perloff, which you liked.
3 o'clock high, yeah. You guys don't know that movie? I just looked it up. It's a little older than I thought. 87. Basically, this bully is chasing a guy all day, this nerdy guy, and the whole school shows up for the after-school fight. This used to be a thing when I was in high school. After-school guys would fight. Does that happen anymore?
I went to high school where people used to fight after school, and it used to build throughout the day.
Yes, that's what this movie is about. You'll love it. It's called 3 o'clock high. It's really, really good. And all these movies in the 80s and the 90s, the underdog won every one at the end. Not to spoil it. That's kind of the theme.
We know.
Yeah. Oh, you knew? Okay.
I think the Weedos would like that 3 o'clock high, you said?
Yeah. Is that AM or PM? We're never sure with
Both.
that crew.
I've also seen a lot of Bourne Ultimatums and stuff like that. Like,
oh, yeah.
Those are good fights.
Step Brothers?
Oh.
On the front lawn?
Oh, yes. Karate Kid, I'm seeing a little bit.
Oh, I mean, that is
Daniel
all
versus
time.
Johnny.
That's all time.
855-212-4227. All right, greatest fictional fight of all time. We also have some real football to get to you as well. This big weekend in college and the NFL. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Oh!
4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining.
At Lower Marion High, where Perloff was a nerd, Ernest was the football star, always being heard. But forget about the past, let's get to Pete, the guy who skips work like it's a track meet. Ernest Pendleton thought you were the king, but Perloff's the one who's doing his thing. Speaking of kings, let's talk about Pete, who never shows up, his presence is beat. Lottie's got a gift, it's called disappearing. When it's time for work, he's no. At Lower Marion High, where Perloff was a nerd, Ernest was a football star, his name was heard. But fast forward now, who's the real champ? Perloff's on the mic while Ernest is just a stamp. Oh, Ernest Pendleton thought you were the king, but Perloff's the one who's doing his thing. And speaking of kings, let's talk about Pete, who never shows up, can't keep a seat. Well, Lottie's got a talent. Lower Mary High, where the nerds stayed low. Perloff was a bookworm, but Ernest ran the show. A football star with muscles and a... At Lower Marion High, where the nerds stayed low, Perloff was a bookworm, but Ernest ran the show. A football star with muscles and a menacing glare. But little did he know, Perloff didn't care. Oh, Ernest Pendleton, king of the school. You thought you were tough, but who's the real fool? Perloff's on the airwaves, making people laugh, while you're just a tale from Lower Marion's past. Ernest had the glory.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Welcome back to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We'll get back to football in just a moment, but we gave you a bonus great debate today, inspired by the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight that's happening on Friday on Netflix. I can't even say that with a straight face. The greatest fictional fight scenes of all time, or fictional fights, what are they? You guys are lined up. You want to talk about this. Now, Perloff wants me to go first to Steve in San Diego.
Yes.
Go ahead, Steve.
If you haven't seen this one, the movie is Every Which Way But Loose. It stars Clint Eastwood and an orangutan.
Yep.
And he plays a bare-knuckle fighter. And that's like a side gig he's got. And there's a fight in there that lasts, 10, 15 minutes.
Steve.
You leave feeling sore.
I got to tell you, Steve, I did some research. It's Any Which Way You Can, the sequel to Every Which Way But Loose, that has the end fight scene that lasts 45 minutes. He's a bare-knuckle fighter, an underground bare-knuckle fighter. Clint Eastwood could fake fight. Thank you, Steve, for calling it with that.
Thank you, Steve.
Nobody threw a fake punch like Clint Eastwood. There's probably a bunch of them.
But sometimes with some of the, I don't know how old that movie is.
It's 1980.
Sometimes like the audio isn't synced up.
Yeah, it makes it even better. No. This was a major movie. This is not like a kung fu movie.
Like the John Wayne stuff sometimes, or even like you'll have the punch and the sound will just be like a little bit off. Or the dubbing in a lot of kung fu movies is obviously terrible, but.
But back in the day, you can make a movie where the guy's best friend was an orangutan and nobody said anything. That was like, yeah, of course. I mean, What other trucker doesn't drive around with an orangutan?
I always want to be in the pitch meeting.
Yeah, and this is Clint Eastwood. It's not like some nobody.
David is in San Jose. He's got a great one. David, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So one epic fight scene that came to mind is Luke Skywalker defeating Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, but did Darth Vader throw the fight because he knew he was his son? Spoiler alert.
I think Luke Skywalker demanded power and he took over, so I don't think so.
Amazing, David. How did we not think of one of the great...
I'm not sure that's the best Star Wars fight, though. I would go...
It's not the best
Darth Maul.
Vader, Luke Skywalker fight.
Yeah. How about Darth Maul versus the two guys? That was a good one. Maybe some Mandalorian stuff. I don't know.
It's like if you're going to do Darth Vader, Luke, I want the, Empire Strikes Back.
What did he
That's
say?
what he did say.
He said that one.
He said Empire.
No, sorry. I meant, in the call, I'm sure he said Return of the Jedi.
Oh, no, I think he said Empire Strikes Back. That's the one.
Yeah, no, he's right now.
Primetime performer. Let's hear it, Manny.
This is Return of the Jedi because that's what he told me on the call.
Okay.
I can feel your anger. I am defenseless. Take your weapon. Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
That was complicated.
It's a great trilogy, and the Luke Skywalker Darth Vader is the best. It's the only Star Wars I've seen. The original 3.
Wait, you guys you know this. The Darth Maul fight scene is amazing. He's the best bad guy.
Well, best bad guy, I don't know about that, but his scenes are good. The movie is terrible. That first one, that whatever Phantom Menace, that's definitely the worst one.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm gonna have to leave that one to you guys. Ryan is in Harrisburg. We're doing the greatest fictional fights ever. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, so I'm calling in to talk about Guy Ritchie's 2002 fight film, Snatch. Brad Pitt versus Gorgeous George.
Man, I never saw Snatch, but I know it's like around the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah.
Snatch. I've never seen it, Ryan. Is Brad Pitt awesome in this scene? What makes it so great?
Brad Pitt's unbelievable. It's all about a bad deal, and the big guy is whooping Brad Pitt's butt while he's stretching out, and then he decides to fight and drops him.
Ryan, thank you for that.
There's also a scene where Guy Ritchie, Brad Pitt falls and he hits the ring and he goes underwater. Like, it's a beautifully shot scene. How about Brad Pitt versus Angela Jolie in Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
That's a good one. I was thinking when Brad Pitt gets punched by in Burn After Reading, but he really just gets punched in the face by John Malkovich, and then it's over. That's about it. Brad Pitt also in Fight Club, but what's the memorable scene
the
from
thing
it?
about the Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie thing, that's the only fight we have where they ended up hooking up at the end of the fight.
Oh, man. Jose's in California. Jose, the greatest fictional fight scene. Go ahead.
Hey, so I also wanted to answer the question about why Chris Tucker never returned to Friday.
Oh, you have some intel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just researched it because I loved Chris Tucker in that movie, and apparently they shot that movie with like a $30,000 budget, super low, in like 3 days. And his dad, I forget, Craig's dad, I forget his name, the actor, but he was the only guy making any real money, and Rush Hour offered Chris Tucker like millions of dollars to go shoot Rush Hour, and the budget for Friday just couldn't do it, so he left.
Wait, the budget for the next Friday, the sequel to Friday, that had to have a huge budget.
It wasn't as big as Rush Hour was, because you had Jackie Chan, you had the production company. But Friday was shot in 3 days on that one strip in L.A.
Man, that's crazy.
I mean, I wouldn't think like the next Friday was going to have like a Marvel budget. I mean, how much do you need to shoot a Friday movie?
But
and then,
Ice Cube was in it. There were some stars.
He's also like they're making some now. He still won't go back. There's clearly some issue.
Yeah.
And also for my fight enthusiasts out there, I wanted to give respect for the guy bringing up Bruce Lee and all those movies, but I wanted to give you guys a newer martial arts star. His name is Tony Jaa, and he did a Ong Bak trilogy and a movie called The Protector. And it's some of the best Muay Thai choreographed martial arts fight scenes I've ever seen. They're really great movies if you enjoy martial arts movies.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking him up right now, Jose. I wasn't familiar with him, but looks pretty wild. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. 855-212-4227.
I wonder, where does animated stuff come in? Because there's a lot of great animated fights.
I mean, like Wile E. Coyote versus the Roadrunner type stuff?
The one in the call screen, I'm thinking about Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, anime?
Cell versus Gohan. Goku versus Frieza. These are classics.
You're not talking about Tom versus Jerry?
That too, I guess.
A little bit more.
Bugs Bunny versus Daffy.
Cece's in Arizona. Hey, Cece. Dorcas Malorcas.
Good morning.
How
You're
you
talking
doing?
about fight movies. I've got a couple. I don't know if anybody's mentioned them yet, but here's two. $1 Million Baby, which is a Clint Eastwood directed movie.
Yep.
Which he's also in, an actor. Which is, it brings me up at the very end. It ever does.
Yeah.
Every time. The other one is The Hurricane.
Oh,
Because
that
the
we were
Wasp-
just talking about Denzel's never in a bad movie.
True story, though.
It was a true story, but Manny picked Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan, and that was also a true story of World War II. So I guess we're expanding our parameters here, Cece. I think this is a hot take. I didn't love $1 Million Baby.
Nah.
It was
I'm
so sad at the end.
Not a fan.
No.
Never seen it, but still not a fan.
You've never seen
No,
it?
I've never seen $1 Million Baby. But I know I've watched like 5 minutes on cable. I'm like, this is so sad.
If that's not the Andrew Perloff experience, not a fan. Did you ever see it? No.
But see, I kind of know it because I've watched parts of it on cable so many times. If you put it all together, I know the movie.
I don't like asparagus. Never tried it. Still don't like it.
That's like my 5-year-old. No, thank you. I don't like it.
You can just
You've
get a
never had it.
vibe. You can get a vibe.
You get a vibe from the asparagus. I get it.
And if honestly, I would have Googled the end to see what happened, and then I would just turn it off. Can we say what happened?
Yeah, it's super sad. Doesn't she end up dying, right?
Spoiler. No, is she paralyzed or died?
She
Was
has
it a
to
draw
get
or
something.
did it-
No, she has to get something amputated. I think.
I don't know. I didn't watch it. So.
She breaks her neck in the last scene, right? Because he left the stool out.
No, I thought she had to get something amputated, and then I think that this is bad. I definitely did see it in the theater. Anybody?
Something
not seen this movie,
amputated?
so I'm
I thought
lost.
she had to get something amputated.
I thought she broke her neck.
I remember hating the ending, but that's all I got.
For the Oscars always touts movies that people end up hating eventually anyway.
How about any of the Jurassic Parks? Can you fight dinosaurs? Does that count?
I think it can. I mean, someone in the chat mentioned Godzilla, and I think there are definitely Godzilla fights that you could.
King Kong
Make a
versus
case for it.
Godzilla, right? Is that an old school one? There you go.
I don't know. I'm still on the animated fights. There's so many now. If you really open it up, like between anime, between regular cartoons, between superhero cartoons, now we're really opening a can of worms here.
We have some amazing football happening this weekend.
Close that can of worms, Mag.
We will.
Anime? Come on.
Oh, gosh.
It starts tonight, week 11 in the NFL. Why are you guys such nerds? Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders. First place in the NFC East is on the line. And a lot more of like contender-pretender sort of status for both teams, but I think more so for the Commanders, where the jury, I think, is still a little bit more out on a rookie quarterback and this team. So we haven't seen it yet.
Everybody kind of likes the Eagles tonight, which is probably a bad sign.
We're going to get more into that matchup. Also, the other first-place teams who are putting their sparkling records on the line this weekend. We'll get to that as well. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
In shock. Life's a front. No, Andrew Perloff says $1 million baby, nah. A movie about boxing, I'll just pass, move along. But guess what, folks? He's never even seen it. He just heard it was sad, so he's already beaten it. Oh, Perloff's got opinions, oh yes he does. Doesn't need to watch to join the buzz. Meanwhile there's EJ trying to flex, but his Marvel facts, oh they're a wreck. EJ says Iron Man's from Krypton, yeah it's true. That's Superman. EJ, what you trying to do? He swears Black Panther's from Gotham City, but oh that logic's looking kinda gritty. Perloff hates a movie he's never seen, and EJ's Marvel takes are barely lean. Together they're a sight to behold, opinions half-baked, facts half-told. Perloff hates a movie he's never seen, and EJ's Marvel takes are barely lean. Together they're a sight to behold, opinions half-baked, facts half-told. So next time Perloff trashes the $1 million flick, or EJ says Hulk and Yoda share a comic trick, remember, it's all just part of the charm. Two sports guys with movie smarts on alarm.
Week 11 off with a bang here on Thursday Night Football. We get a good one. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Perloff oddly calm that just in a matter of hours, his Philadelphia Eagles are going to be playing for first place in the NFC East. They take on the Commanders. These are the two teams that are viable in the NFC East. So this is a big, big game. And you seem just calm. I'm not used to witnessing this.
This report that all the Eagles are healthy. And honestly, last year the Commanders tore their defense apart with Sam Howell. So I expect some points, but Washington's defense is not great. And if you have A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley on the field, That's tough to stop. I mean, I've not been high on the Eagles, but I assume Saquon Barkley is going to get hurt at some point. But right now, like, tell me how you defend them, Maggie. Put your defensive coordinator hat on. Who do you focus on?
Well, the Washington Commanders have been pretty bad this year in allowing touchdowns to star receivers. So of the 17 touchdowns that they've allowed this year, 7 of them have been to number 1 receivers, including 2 to Mike Evans and 2 to Jamar Chase. So if I gave you that stat, you'd probably say A.J. Brown is the guy that you have to stop. Yeah. But then here's Saquon Barkley. So how do you afford to have, extra guys in coverage when Saquon Barkley is right there at the line of scrimmage, and when Jalen Hurts does decide to run, he can be effective as well.
By the way, Mike Williams is hardly a star, and he beat the Washington cornerbacks last week for the game-winning touchdown. So you don't even have to be great to do this. I think Washington's defense is still sneaky pretty bad. They do have some old guys like Bobby Wagner. He's pretty tough. But generally, I think that's a big advantage. Yeah, I am weirdly calm.
Yeah, I've never seen you like this. Usually you're, trying to, mitigate expectations, or you're trying to do reverse jinxes, and you're just ready here. This basically, it's not really a Dan Quinn, Nick Sirianni kind of matchup because no one knows when Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, actually does. But it's more of a Vic Fangio, Cliff Kingsbury matchup. Vic Fangio, the defense coordinator for the Eagles, and Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. But I asked you a question last night, and I don't know if we know the answer. And my question was, remember when Jalen Hurts used to be a top 5 quarterback?
Yeah.
Remember that time?
Yeah, when he went mano-a-mano with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
I feel like that happened. That wasn't a fever dream. That actually happened. But I don't think there's anybody outside diehard people in Delco County who would say that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 QB. And I asked you this question. Who's actually closer to being in the top 5 conversation? Is it Jalen Hurts or is it Jayden Daniels, who's just tearing people up as a rookie?
Well, I mean, the weird thing is Jalen Hurts having his best seasons stat-wise. Like, he's ripping up the stat sheet every day. I understand what you're saying. Like, before we talk about Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts may not be a top 5 quarterback consistently, but, like, you would not be surprised on any given day if he beats any. Like, he destroyed Joe Burrow. And that was not like, wow, that's weird, because you've seen him, like, for some reason, his best game is as good as anyone. The problem is Jalen Hurts has these bad moments, like last year when he threw a game-losing pick to the Jets. Like, he just makes mistakes. He almost doesn't even fit into one category. Sometimes he's a top 5 quarterback, sometimes he's not. Consistency-wise, he's probably 8 to 12. But this year so far, he's getting used to Kellen Moore, the new offensive coordinator. He's pretty darn elite. I mean, he is, especially with Saquon Barkley there. Like, I think he gets some of the credit. Like, he's a lot closer to 5 than I think maybe 15.
But the question is not Jalen Hurts versus the field. Right now, we're asking you Jalen Hurts versus Jayden Daniels.
Well,
who's closer to being a top 5 QB?
I think it's Jalen Hurts.
Well, he has more experience, obviously, because this is year 5 for him. But so you're right. Jalen Hurts having a good year statistically. He's going to top 2,000 yards in tonight's game. He's so close. And then 12 touchdowns to 5 picks.
5 picks were all in the first 2 games.
But you know the other funny thing about Jalen Hurts? Because I think he is a good quarterback. I don't think he's top 5, but he is a good quarterback, and he can do everything. But even against the Dallas Cowboys, which ended up being a blowout, Philadelphia wins. He took 5 sacks in the first half of that game.
Yes, but here's the thing. It's a style of football. And same thing with Jayden Daniels. Certain quarterbacks hold on to the ball to try to make a play. So with that, there was another play where he broke through, climbed the pocket, and had a long touchdown. Right. So to get those mobile quarterback plays, you're going to take some sacks. You take the good with the bad.
Meanwhile, Jayden Daniels already over 2,000 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and their quarterback ratings are basically about the same, 101 to 103. I mean, this is a very, very interesting chess match tonight. And by the way, the Commanders look like they're going to get Brian Robinson back.
Kills the Eagles.
Now, this is the running back, obviously, formerly from Alabama. Yeah. This is a big deal because in the only games where the Commanders have not rushed for more than 100 yards, both of those games Brian Robinson was not playing. So clearly he changes a lot with the offense, and that opens things up, you would think, for Terry McLaurin and for other receivers on the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is Jayden Daniels is working with a lot less than Jalen Hurts is.
Definitely.
There was a big drop by, I think it was De'Ami Brown last week. it's really Terry McLaurin or bust. And you're right, it's huge to have Brian Robinson back. If anything, I give Jayden Daniels a lot of credit for this. Cliff Kingsbury's pretty good. I mean, he can call plays. I don't know if he's ever going to be a good head coach, but he definitely can get your offense going. Still, last week we saw against the Steelers, like, feel like the Jayden Daniel things is cooling off a little bit. And I'm a huge fan. He's definitely winning Rookie of the Year, but I don't hear MVP talk at all anymore.
So that may have coincided with Brian Robinson getting hurt, but also he's got some bruised ribs, I think, that they're not really, I don't say talking about, but it's definitely something that's happening.
Yeah. Well, here, let me ask you this question. Yeah. Say that Jalen Hurts wins 34-10. Do you think we're going to get back to the Jalen Hurts as a top 5 quarterback? Is that still on the plate for him, or have we seen enough where we're never really going to believe he's that guy again? Because I think it's possible.
I think he can get himself back into that conversation. The question is, though, you have so many great games this weekend that feel like they're going to be wild takeaways from some of the outcomes. Like if Josh Allen has a great game against Kansas City, is he back? Is he out in the driver's seat now for MVP?
Yeah.
If Lamar Jackson, who historically has had terrible games against Pittsburgh by his standards, he's taken more sacks against Pittsburgh, thrown more picks against Pittsburgh. The Steelers have done a very nice job of having Lamar's number, quote unquote. So does his MVP candidacy take a hit if he plays that division rival? Ask you if Joe Burrow gets back into the mix if Cincinnati ends up having a big win over the Chargers. Same thing 49ers if they have a big win over the Seahawks.
Flip Justin Herbert. If he has a big win over Cincinnati, right, they're a lot. But here's one thing about Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. They're grandfathered in. We don't go week to week on them. We know they're elite.
Yeah, Mahomes, obviously.
Yeah, I think there's, in my mind, if you're doing rankings, there are 4 guys we don't go week to week on Lamar. We don't go week to week on Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. I think those guys can have a bad game, and we're not going to ding them. But then there are all these other, I'll call them the Brock Purdy types, who are like the flavors of the month, where like, oh, Jalen Hurts is the best. Now Jayden Daniels is the best quarterback. Now it's Justin Herbert. Now it's Goff. Like those guys, you're right. Every week we make a referendum on.
Well, and we're talking about the Commanders and the Eagles tonight, but is this also one of those weeks for Russell Wilson?
Yeah, that's another guy. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson, a top 10 quarterback?
I mean, you thought Russ might have been a grandfathered in kind of dude, but then it got so bad with Denver.
No.
And he almost, we weren't sure if he was actually beating Justin Fields out for this job.
Remember the talk that he was ruining his Hall of Fame legacy by playing so poorly?
I do remember because I think it was you and I who were saying
it.
Now
he's going to go in the Steelers helmet. He's playing so well.
Wouldn't that be something? 855-212-4227. Want to talk about this quickly from a betting angle? So tonight's game, you're talking about really liking the Eagles here. This started off as Eagles favored by 4. Mm-hmm. When I tell you this, I've checked it 3 times during the course of our show because I'm not paying attention to anyone says. I'm just kidding. It's gone between 3.5 and 4 just throughout the course of the morning. Now, to me, anything over 3.5, even 4, I'm so tempted to take the Commanders here because do I really think this is more than a field goal game, even in Philadelphia? So that's one thing. The total, 48.5. I think they're going to blow through that tonight. The total, I have no problem with betting the over.
Feels low. Last year I lost twice on the Eagles-Commanders games because I kept up like the Commanders are terrible. The Eagles are going to kill them, and the Commanders just have their number offensively. Eagles won both games. Commanders covered both. Both games went over by 60 miles. But then again, I don't know. That 48 is interesting. I do feel like people are looking like, the Eagles are going to be able to shut down Jayden Daniels because they're full strength. They have a pass rush. They have now, all of a sudden, they have a secondary with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, the rookies. It does feel like there's a chance that Jayden Daniels gets shut down. I kind of hope not. I'd like a shootout, even as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, the only thing about the Eagles pass rush, I know you have a pass rush, and it's been good to see Jalen Cooper or Jalen Carter, but I think the numbers are a little inflated with getting to face the likes of Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones and Cooper Rush. I'm not saying they're a bad unit. I just think that the numbers might not tell the full story there.
No, that's a really great point, but the names there's some big names there. And what's the guy we got from the Jets? I don't even remember his name anymore. Bryce Huff. What a joke. But he should get after the quarterback as well. They also, the Eagles have this super weapon. This guy named Zach Bone.
He just won NFC Defensive Player of the Week.
He's incredible. Like I feel like I should know more about his backstory, but he's awesome. So I think Vegas might say, hey, maybe Jayden Daniels, the magic runs out, because you could say the same thing about him. He's torched a lot of bad teams. Looked pretty good against the Steelers, but only completed 50% of his passes. So I think that's what Vegas is thinking.
Before we get back to our bonus great debate for today, yesterday was the greatest boxing match of all time. Today is what's the greatest fictional fight of all time, like on-screen fight, in honor, an homage to Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul this Friday night. Prof, before we get back to those calls, can you just really quickly set the scene for us? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, division game, first place on the line. Just what's the crowd? What are the sights, the smells, the
smells are beer and urine. What do you think they are? This is a night game. People are going to be loaded. Yeah, it's basically the national smells. I haven't been to a night game there in a while because I'm too scared.
And you root for the home team.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, it is a vicious, vicious place. Yeah, this, the Commanders, they're the third rival. It's number 1 Cowboys, number 2 Giants. Then Commanders are third. Yeah, they hate the Commanders.
So what does it look like when the Eagles crowd's quote unquote taking it easy on people? Just a couple punches to the liver?
No, I mean, here's the thing. The Link is a lot nicer than the new stadium than the Vet. At the Vet, it was just like, it's like the movie The Warriors. It was basically, we did the greatest fictional fight scene.
Yeah.
You did Anchorman.
Yeah.
That was the Vet. You had a trident, brass knuckles.
Gotta hide out for a while after.
You could show up to a game with nunchucks. It was fine back then. It was pure Thunderdome. This is a little more civilized. But no, Maggie, I wouldn't suggest going down. You have a child. Do not bring them down to Philadelphia tonight. You do not want them to grow up in a hurry.
I wasn't planning to get within 100 miles of that stadium. No thanks.
Aren't we within 100 miles of Philadelphia?
I live in Jersey. 855-212-4222. I do live a little closer.
But luckily,
we're 99 miles to
we're going to get all that energy from Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit.
They got a good one tonight.
There's going to be like a brawl in the crowd, and Al's going to be talking about the steak place he went to in South Philly last night.
Honestly, talking about Al Michaels' diet never gets old to me.
And happy birthday. Turned 80 yesterday.
Amazing. I'm always a sucker for a good, like, what do athletes eat? Like, I saw another thing about DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks this week. 1 meal a day.
Yep.
And outside of that 1 meal a day, it's only candy.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The candy guys are incredible.
But instead, we're going to get about how Al Michaels ate at Giorgio on Pine and didn't have any vegetables.
Yeah, which is also awesome. No, I'm
Giorgio on Pine?
down with. I haven't been.
Oh, you haven't? I've been. Very good stuff at Giorgio on Pine.
Manny.
Fine dining. Yeah, that's right.
Where do you think those mean tweets are coming from? The corner table.
Not just the guy who sends mean tweets and just wields a wiffle ball bat around.
We asked for the greatest fictional fight scene of all time. I went with Anchorman. Perloff went with Rocky. EJ went with the Avengers. And Manny went with Saving Private Ryan. Which one of these things is not like the other?
Bogish went with Happy not available for you? What's the deal, dude?
Bogish went with Happy Gilmore versus Bob Barker. And
explosions, gunfire. Sounds like a fight to me.
No, we know. It's just... Really? Saving Private Ryan? Let's go to the phones. Greatest fictional fight scenes of all time. Let's get into Charles is our friend in Maine. Charles, who do you have?
Good morning. And I might have missed this if it came up earlier. If it didn't, I can't believe it. But Harry Potter versus Voldemort at the end of Deathly Hallows.
So it hasn't come up yet, and I'm going to blame EJ...
No.
Or Perloff. Who are the two nerdiest people on the show?
Oh, come on, man.
Oh, I had a feeling you might go that.
Oh, are you, EJ, are you a Harry Potter guy?
No.
I'm a huge Harry Potter guy.
Close.
Okay, Perloff, why didn't you bring up Harry Potter
versus
versus
such nerds?
Because I already know by the time I saw the movies, I already knew what happened.
Because you Google it?
No, because everyone knows that. I mean, the kid can't be beat, Harry Potter. He's undefeated. There's no way Voldemort was going to win that battle. Right, Charles?
No, there wasn't any way, but that scene where they locked their wands together was pretty epic.
So I have a question for you guys about, Charles, thank you so much. That's a great one. We had not brought it up yet. And I just kid about the nerds. I realize Harry Potter is one of the most successful books of all time and movies of all time.
We'll
try to be less nerdy. When can I read this to my kid? What age?
Pretty soon. So because it gets darker and darker and darker as J.K. Rowling's son gets older and older. By the end, that scene he's talking about, it is heartbreaking. Like, she kills everybody. Not to spoil, like, it gets super dark.
You mean Harry?
J.K. Rowling kills all the characters. She talks a lot about that. The first book is for kids, and then it gets older and older and older. So you could start probably at 7.
Okay. Well, it
maybe
turns out
8.
J.K. Rowling, she's like nuttier than a hoot owl, right? Anyway, okay, so Lucas is 5, so I still have a while for that. I don't want to creep him out. Hey, Big Friendly's on the line. What's up, Big Friendly?
Good morning, Maggie. Good morning, EJ the EP, my man Manny, 411, and Daddy Cool. I think the greatest fight never seen but explained was on the Boondock Saints when they found the 2 Russian hitmen dead. And I believe the detective Flannery or Flag, some Irish name, and he was going off on the story like these 2 dudes are coming home drunk. Some guy jumps out the bushes, hits him where you going, nowhere. Like, it was just, his explaining of that fight was just so hilarious, and it was totally off basis.
Wait, Big Friendly. So I've never seen Boondock Saints, but I know a little about it. It's like a Irish mob movie? No.
So basically, their roles, they're like saints. They're Irish saints, and they're in Boston, and they're like going against like the underworld. But
I see.
I don't think when they made the movie, it was supposed to be the cult classic and the great movie it was, but you have to watch it. And my man Daddy Cool, before you let me go, your new nickname is the Spoiler. Stop telling people the end of movies.
Harry Potter? Big Friendly, Harry Potter.
By the way, a lot of movies. You said that 3 times today. I don't want to be a spoiler, but they die at the end. I don't want to be a spoiler. But Daddy Cool, you're still the man.
By the way, in a million years, I would not have guessed you were a Boondock Saints fan. Have you ever seen the documentary about the making of?
Yes, I have. I've seen both of them and the cartoon. There's a cartoon called The Boondocks, and there was a fight between Usher and a guy, Tom. It's hilarious. It's a cartoon. But the Boondock Saints movies, they're going to be cult classics forever. You guys have a great day. Thank you for your time, and I love you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Big Friendly. Right back at you.
Am I spoiling things by saying the fighter ends up getting hurt at the end of $1 Million Baby, or that? I mean, I said that Darth Vader throws a fight against Luke. If you haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, there's a statute of limitations when it comes to
spoiling. That was 1984.
Yeah, you see, that's before history started, so.
Right.
That's BC to Manny. Anything before the year 2000.
And honestly, if you don't know what happened, you could guess that you really think Voldemort's going to win the final battle and kill Harry Potter?
I'm undefeated, never lost.
Well, I think if you're watching Rocky, you probably don't think that Apollo's going to win the first one. You think it's setting up that Rocky's going to win, but he loses. So, yeah, there's a spoiler. But I think Rocky came out in 1979, so I think we're clear on that.
76, right? It won the Oscar.
I mean, that's not a spoil anymore.
Yeah. Big Friendly does have a good point. I've said the sentence, I don't want to spoil this, at least 5 times this show.
Manny's is the big one. We all know how that ended.
Spoiler
Thank God.
Alert, the Americans beat the Germans.
Thank God.
Yes. You have a spoiler on Anchorman that he never went to jail. Yeah. Brick killed somebody with a trident.
Right. No, he doesn't go to jail. Yes. I was like, Ron Burgundy? The panda? No. 855-212.
I'm Maggie Gray.
227. Veronica Corningstone. Okay. The greatest fictional fights of all time. You're welcome to weigh in. We have so much more. And also, EJ, can we put this poll up? Who's closer to being a top 5 quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Jayden Daniel? Okay. Lots more to do, including a check-in with one of our absolute faves. Don't move.
All right, Maggie. You know that I am feeling the NBA right now. Thank you, Norman Powell, for going under 21.5 points last night, scored 13. Yeah, of course, I'm talking about Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action while watching football, basketball, gaming, all kinds of options. With over 10 million members, billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all, simple to use. Pick 2 or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on their projection. You could win up to 100 times your money. Do you guys even know Norman Powell was averaging that many points? But not last night, baby.
You know what I love about Prize Picks? It's the flex play. So what Perloff just told you about picking 2 or more players across any sport, well, you can still cash out even if one of your picks doesn't hit. That's the beauty of Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code MANDP, M&P, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code M&P on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Mand P.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, this portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. Back on Maggie and Perloff, we are debating the greatest fictional fight of all time because tomorrow night on Netflix there will be a semi-fictional, semi-non-fictional fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, which we'll get more into tomorrow. I'm so excited for. Have we officially booked this person for tomorrow?
Yeah, they're in.
I am so excited, not because of what he has to say about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, which is also very interesting, but we have a guest. I don't even want to say who it is, who has the true inside knowledge about Maggie Gray.
We got Conor McGregor?
No. There's
I know who it is.
the ultimate Maggie Gray expert.
Yeah, one.
I mean,
of them.
I've known you a long time, but this person knows you a lot longer.
That's true. Also, some news around the fight.
Ooh.
Which is that Mike Tyson, you remember when the fight first got postponed? This was supposed to happen in July, and it got postponed. They kind of, there was an incident where Mike Tyson was on a plane, and he got kind of sick. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah, didn't he? Yeah.
So apparently he was almost died.
Whoa.
They did not reveal the details of this. He had a bleeding ulcer. He was vomiting blood. He ended up having to go to the hospital where the doctors were for a moment unsure of how the outcome was going to go. So essentially what happened was all of his training got completely erased, if you will, because he lost 25 pounds in 11 days and basically trying to get yourself in peak condition for a fight, it all disappeared. So he had to start from scratch to get back up for this fight. And we're joking around about it. This fight is not, it's kind of silly and it's Jake Paul. It's a sanctioned fight, so it's going to go on Mike Tyson's official record. They're doing 2-minute rounds. I think they're doing 12-ounce gloves, so it's a little bit cushier, but it's being sanctioned by the state of Texas. So the punches are going to be real, that's for sure.
Did you reveal who broke this story?
No, well, I don't know.
Are we going to keep this as
we can keep it a secret till tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, we.
Perloff, you're already getting reprimanded by Big Friendly for spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, this would also be a spoiler, I guess, for tomorrow.
Our mystery guest for tomorrow?
Yeah, well, let's keep it a mystery guest.
Okay.
The ultimate insider.
I'm impatient. Can I text Maggie my guess and
well,
just say
both
yes
of you
or no?
don't know? I forget.
No, I don't know. No, I don't know anything.
All right.
Sure, you can text.
By the way, I love when we do a great debate, which we're doing today, fake movie fights.
Yeah.
When Bogus gets the last choice and complains about it. Nothing
Not this
makes me-
time.
Not this time, though.
I meant to say that. That was going to be my open and my lead into my thing. I usually correctly or incorrectly complain about my draft position, but I almost couldn't type fast enough my choice in when EJ told me the topic last night, and I was so nervous that one of you guys were going to pull it. So when he said you got it, I was ecstatic.
I barely got a breath in before Bogus was able to text EJ back in that group
text
chat.
was so fast.
Incredibly fast.
That's so funny. I mean, you do have a great choice, but I wouldn't think that it was like, oh man, I got to get to this, the greatest fight in movie history.
Happy Gilmore versus Bob Barker?
Yeah, I mean,
it's A+.
It's actually, I love it, but it's not exactly when I think of great movie fights. I'm like, oh, well, of course, Bob Barker, not Clubber Lang versus Rocky.
The Price is Wrong bleep is a more significant line to me than if he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies.
That's another great poll question. The memorable lines from all of these fights. Like, which one is it? Price is Wrong. Is it Brent killed a guy? Is it from my choice, which was Anchorman?
That escalated quickly.
That escalated quickly is another one.
low.
What's the line he says about pets and happy? Doesn't he say something about spaying and neutering your pets too?
Oh, for Barker?
Yeah, I thought he had a line about that.
In the fight?
I think he says something to Happy Gilmore about neutering your pets too. The famous Bob Barker line.
Obviously, famous lines in Rocky abound. I'm not an Avengers person, so I'm going to take your word for it.
Well, you had the line.
Avengers, assemble.
Yeah.
Manny, is there a famous line from Saving Private Ryan? I can't believe you picked that movie. You are an outside-the-box thinker. We said fictional fight. You brought up World War II. I understand.
Right, but was that fight actual? Would that really happen?
Well,
yes, the opening scene at Normandy happened. You see, I thought about all this stuff. It's not just a hat rack, y'all.
You did pick the final, the when he died, the final scene, I guess. Not final scene, the final fight where the captain dies.
Yeah, the final scene where I mean, it ended up, the final fight ended up being like a 15-minute fight. But yeah, I mean, just to grab audio, I'm not going to pull the 15-minute audio, just grabbing good old Captain John Miller passing away.
So sad.
Hell
We
of a
were all
movie.
having such a good time.
Explosions, gunfire, sounds like a fight.
By the way, everybody got their picks, okay? So Bogish got to pick his first pick, so that was good for him. And Manny made the poll today.
Yeah.
So all the grievances from
there you go
from Manny and Bogish, they can be erased today.
You know who really struggled with this one the most was EJ, because you had like 20 choices you wanted to make.
I literally thought about like 3 choices during this show, and I'm mad. I'm already mad.
Here's one. Nadal's in Dallas. Nadal, best fictional fight of all time is who?
Good morning, guys. So many came to mind. You know, the Punisher, Daredevil. You put those guys in a narrow hallway, game over, right? But I spoke to EJ, and I'm like, you know what? Batman versus Bane.
Man, that's a great one. We've got a little of the sound. Let's hear it.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark.
Is that Schwartz?
I was born in it, molded by it.
That's me, Perloff.
I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
There you go.
Hey, how did you get that audio of me?
This is...
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? I was born in it, molded by it.
Nadal, not bad.
You see, you know, I'm going to give you a Frank Caladendo secret here. So anybody really, if you can lower your voice, cover your mouth with your hand, and just recite that line, you pretty much should sound like Bane.
All right, well, let's give it a try.
Perloff, go for it.
Oh, I can't. Oh, I didn't think you were going to go to me on that.
Wait.
Please don't.
What's the line?
Please
It's like,
don't.
all the darkness. What is it?
I think darkness is your ally.
You think darkness is your ally.
Yes.
Listen, I'm a Bills fan. I was born in the darkness.
Yeah.
You're still there.
Well, we'll see
That would
about
let
the
you
Sunday.
out.
We'll see about Sunday.
I think I say because you were born in Binghamton, you were born in darkness.
The sun does not shine there. Well put.
Mahomes guarding the door. The lights on the other side.
Forever. Bogus, you have headlines for us.
And they're sponsored by PXG. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/football and use code football. I hate Manny. The Sixers lost again last night, and Joel Embiid and Paul George sat out again, but who cares? It's Eagle season. First place Philly hosting second place Washington tonight. Only an extra Commanders loss separates them. Jalen Hurts has your Washington scouting report.
They got great players playing hard. The way they are able to create problems up front. Their linebackers are really good players, smart players, instinctual players, fast players. And then out wide, they're very sticky in coverage.
The Commanders have the... Throw out the records. The biggest names on the injury report for this one, new corner Marshawn Lattimore remains out with a hamstring injury, but running back Brian Robinson should come back after missing 2 with his own hammy issue.
But by the way, that was great opposing teams out. They have great players. Like, thanks for that scouting report. Like, he's just like, get me through this interview.
Wouldn't it be funny one day if a guy's like, you know what? Roster's a little thin.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Commanders?
Yeah. That weak side linebackers are real stiff. I mean, torch him on Sunday.
Remember Tom Brady said that anytime he said a guy was really good, that means he was really terrible.
No, did he say that?
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, oh, they got a really great safety. He's playing really well. You just knew he said, I'm taking shots at that guy all game.
I remember he said he lied. I didn't know he went the exact opposite.
I believe the quote was, we're going to light his ass up, is what he said.
And you know how many times he used to say that about Antonio Cromartie? And now I'm like, oh, that's why he got targeted so much when he was on the Jets. Every week, Tom Brady would be like, no, Antonio Cromartie's a really good player. And then, like, Cromartie would give up 170 yards to Welker. And I'm like, Tom Brady said he was good. Why can't he stop Welker?
He jumped every possible route known to man. No. Antonio Cromartie, one of my favorite players of all time.
Very relieved to report that the Celtics have recovered from losing their NBA Cup opener 2 nights ago.
10 on the shot clock. Tatum comes out, sets the high screen, receives the pass from Derek White, attacks the left side, pump fake, hangs in the air, high off the window, and he gets another bounce. It's a Jason Tatum takeover late in the third, and the Celtics hit the century mark with a minute to go in quarter number 3.
That's Sean Grandy on Celtics radio. Tatum scored 36. His team won the second half 74-54 to win the game in Brooklyn 139-114. Overtime in Milwaukee last night, Giannis scored 11 points. The Pistons as a team scored 9. The Bucks winning the game. Giannis finished with 59 points, his second most ever, the most in the league so far this season in the 127-120 final. Just 50 points for Wemby in the Spurs' 139-130 home win over the Wizards. The points and the 8 threes, career highs for Wemby. It's also 3 straight games with 6 or more triples. And LeBron with his third straight triple-double, 35 points, 12 rebounds, 14 assists. The Lakers topped the Grizzlies 128-123 to hit 6-0 at home. The Cavaliers are 13-0 everywhere, a 114-106 win in Philadelphia. Donovan Mitchell, 23 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. From men's college hoops, number 14, Creighton beat Houston Christian 78-43. Greg McDermott breaking his tie with Dana Altman for the most wins in program history. And hockey last night, already mentioned it quickly this morning, Ivan did not score, but the Avalanche did beat the Kings 4-2. 3 goals in that one from Mikko Rantanen. Guys, back to you.
Don't you know, like this time of the year in college basketball, when you get the most random schools in basketball scores, like, oh yeah, Lemoyne. They will lose by 40 to anybody, or like Troy. Although Troy has a football program too.
But our good friend, Dusty Stanfield, NFL marketing rep, his son goes to Houston Christian, plays football there, formerly Houston Baptist, home of Bailey Zappi. So Houston Christian, we're big Houston Christian fans.
And no bad words on Lemoyne College, Josiah Gray. I graduated high school with him, Washington Nationals pitcher. Don't talk down on the Dolphins.
There are no random colleges, Maggie.
Manny, half my high school went to Lemoyne. I can definitely talk
on the Dolphins.
Or like Fisk.
They're called
Randall.
the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Upstate
New York, the Dolphins.
Houston Christian is called the
Wishful
Huskies.
thinking.
Syracuse, New York, the Dolphins.
Houston Christian is the Huskies, like a husky. Like, are they doing the Iditarod down in Texas?
It's also the Yukon logo. There's like a whisker different between the Huskies.
Yeah, this is random names. Like, why?
What did you think it was? Like some slightly overweight person? Like, it's husky, like a dog. Like, yes, we know what a husky is. It's going to be someone who's like wearing
No, I'm saying the Houston Christian should not be. Huskies is known as a Pacific Northwest.
Exactly.
Yeah, wait. What did you think? I thought it meant a chubby person? What are you talking about?
There's no other husky it could be besides
Huskies run the Iditarod in Alaska. They don't come down to Houston. Yeah, they have way too much hair. They'd be hot in the Houston sun.
Well, Maggie sees all the Dolphins up in Syracuse anyway. So.
Did you think that
Honestly,
I thought it was
a real problem up
like
there.
a husky guy and like a buffet is going to be the mascot?
No, I think if I could translate, she thought it was funny that you had to explain the difference as if people would be confused by you saying Huskies.
You're like, husky? Like the dog? I'm like, no, like the overweight person.
Like you didn't need to elaborate on
Yeah,
Huskies.
like that's another example of like, do you really have to take that shot there? And by the way, I have an interesting follow-up on a big shot EJ Stewart took early in the show.
At who?
You'll see.
Whoop. Is that a tease?
That's a tease for next break.
Did you get my text, by the way? Was I right?
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
The mystery guest for tomorrow. 855-212-4227. All right, we come back. Perloff's calling out EJ.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, the Dependable Player of the Week is sponsored by Depend and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, reminding you that health is a long game and screening for prostate cancer is easier than ever. Learn more at depend.com. Seems pretty straightforward, Maggie. It's got to be Victor Wembanyama. 50 points is my choice.
I think it's LeBron James having another triple-double as the dependable player.
That's a good one.
Who else would EJ have picked for this? All right, I'm going to go with LeBron. What do you have?
All right, so this week's dependable player of the week is Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, Perloff got it.
50 points in last night's win over the Washington Wizards, 139-130. He also hit 8 threes in this ball game.
It's amazing.
How do you guard that guy?
The league hasn't found out yet.
Wembanyama?
Haven't figured it out.
No. I mean, it's not like they're going to win 60 games because you can't guard. They're 6-6. We'll see. Beating the Wizards with, again, theme of the show, asterisk on that 50-point performance. It's like when Malachi Flynn dropped 52 last year. I'm not exactly writing his Hall of Fame speech.
Former Knicks.
Scored 50 on the Wizards. Come on. Manny could put up a 30 burger on that team.
That'd be nice.
We got to do a debate about that, which is because there was a controversial foul call last night because someone fouled another person on their hair.
Josh Hart was the one that fouled
Yeah.
Kobe White's hair.
But
Kobe White's hair is a cheat code.
It's so mesmerizing.
Evidently.
He plays for the Bulls, by the way, and he played for North Carolina. It's so mesmerizing as he runs up and down the court. But should your hair be considered obviously it's part of your body, a foulable part of your body? Like in football, if you've got dreads or something or long hair out of the back of your helmet like George Kittle, you can pull on that person's hair and it's totally legal.
And sometimes when guys get hair pulled out in NFL, it's like, what a brutal sport. Can you imagine how much that hurts?
It would be so painful.
But you
Would
said
you rather
something
break a
interesting.
finger or get your hair pulled out? Ow.
In track, there was a woman who won a race because her hair went over the other
This is
person.
like back a million years ago, like in the 80s. I think someone actually won a gold medal because their hair went over the finish line first.
Amazing.
Yeah. But it's your chest is now we know.
There was a boxer this weekend who had this happens a lot. You had to have a mid-fight haircut because the hair was, I think this case was preceding his vision. But sometimes
they cut off like
the
the corner man cut his hair.
Yeah, legit just cut off a big swath of his hair. That happens
That
a
gives
lot.
new meaning to the word cut, man.
Yeah.
Like he didn't go to the side and have a guy who's like, all right, here's what we're going to do.
Put a cape on?
Yeah, put a cape on.
What is this, a 3? What level you want here? Yeah,
I'm not
let me
even
cut
off
your
the side
eye
here.
open.
Yeah,
And then
after
I'll
round 2, he's like, I'm just not feeling my look. Got to get tighter on the sides
Got
here.
need hair gel back there. Speaking of which, greatest fictional fights, but I think you wanted to call EJ out
Yes.
in a callback.
I was called out because there's a story about Shedeur Sanders pulling up to a handicap spot or something in Boulder, Colorado, in his car, Maybach.
His fancy car.
And EJ pointed out via Rick Ross that it's Maybach. Are you sure about that?
Maybach music. That's how we say it in the culture. Maybach music.
Yes.
Maybach.
But when I said it, you called me out as if I was wrong.
I didn't say it on air, but yeah, because no one calls it that.
But it is called a Maybach.
No, it is certainly not Maybach. The CH letters in German are to be pronounced as a H sound, H. So it is not Maybach either, but rather Maybach.
Maybach.
Who is that person?
Yeah, who is that?
That is the arbiter of the English language, the Lord's English. I don't know. We just Googled how do you say Maybach. Because I was like, I still think it's Maybach. Because I mean, even when the Shedeur Sanders story came up, Bogus read it to us. I swear he said Maybach. So I didn't know about the Rick Ross song, which I'll admit. But maybe if you say it that way, I think you went, I think Rick Ross probably was rhyming or just, I don't know, whatever.
No, it's just, it's.
The car, I've seen a million. Brandon Marshall had one in my parking garage, former NFL wide receiver, a humble brag. And I asked him, what kind of car is that? And the car guy said, oh, he has a Maybach.
Right, but Brandon Marshall would tell you he has a Maybach.
Maybach. Yeah, but you can't correct me for that. The German car.
They have a Maybach.
You can't correct me for that. Like I didn't know how people call it, but it's called a Maybach. That's the name of the car.
Oh, but I feel like oh my God, all these athletes and rappers who talk about having Maybachs, like that's a thing. That's not.
But why would you laugh at me for saying it that way?
Because Shedeur Sanders wouldn't call it a Maybach. He would say he has a Maybach.
Maybach.
In fact, I guarantee you I can find a clip of him saying, oh, I have a Maybach.
Wait a minute, hold on. What's the original story here? Shedeur Sanders pulled
Do you
up in
remember
what?
that?
Pulled up in a. You said I thought
in
it was
a
a Rolls
fancy
Royce,
car.
but maybe it wasn't Maybach.
No, it was a Maybach.
And that was the story? There's nothing more to the story?
It was a big deal.
Star athlete has nice car?
No.
Star athlete has NIL deal.
That's not news
no,
at
a
11.
Maybach or a Maybach is extremely expensive.
A college athlete pulling up in a $350,000 car, was it noteworthy?
Yeah,
to you?
it's like having
That
a
was
Lamborghini.
Big
I
story.
know. We had the story that Bijan Robinson at Texas had a Lamborghini. And I said at the time, if I were in the draft process and I were a GM, the only thing I want to know is how did he return the car at the end of the season? If it doesn't have a scratch on it, I want him to draft him. If it's all junked up, then I don't want to draft him.
But the point was
This
that
is just the way of the world now.
No,
Carson Beck's driving a Lamborghini.
Is he really?
Yes. Guys, this is the new era.
Well, I
here.
think Shedeur has a little more swag than the average college quarterback. That's my opinion.
he also
I mean,
grew up as
Maybach
a
at
rich
times is
kid.
$1 million car. Like there are some Maybachs that are that expensive.
Okay, but he, first of all, might not own it. they might be lending it to him.
Do you believe that?
Publicity, but also
Deion gave it to him.
Or Deion gave it to him. Right. So Shedeur grew up a rich kid. It's different.
Maybach. I'm just curious. You don't notice that Shedeur Sanders is a little more, I'm not sure, just out there. I mean, he has his own, I just sent a clip to EJ. He's interviewing Zlatan on his own podcast. It's called Two Great Athletes. I'm sorry. Like, I don't think like Jackson Dart is interviewing Zlatan. I just think Shedeur is clearly at another level of college stardom and confidence than anybody I've ever seen in my life. There's never been, maybe Bronny James. There's never been a college athlete like this. Shedeur.
That's really funny. I didn't know he had a podcast called Two Great Athletes.
Well,
And he's already
what's it called? I'm sorry. Does anyone know? It's called Two Something or Others. Yeah, Shedeur was interviewing. I'm sorry. Carson Beck does not have Lionel Messi on his podcast.
Yeah, but this is the way of the world now. Maybe Shedeur is the peak of it.
Too Legendary is the name of Shedeur Sanders' podcast.
What could Shedeur Sanders and Lionel Messi possibly have a conversation?
It was Zlatan.
Okay, let me go ahead and ask the question again. What could Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Shedeur Sanders have in common that they could? We're talking about a 40-year-old Swedish dude and a 20-something-year-old American.
Tell you right now what they have in common. Same car. A Maybach, or as Shedeur would call it, a Maybach. Maybach.
Maybe Shedeur speaks Argentinian Spanish, like that dialect. It's possible. He's going to be unlike
Maybach music.
Maybach. My point was Shedeur is not leaving Colorado to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's not happening.
Well, this is what Deion said. This is the latest news. Is he said he would quietly influence where Shedeur and Travis Hunter are both going to get drafted. And my response to that is, when has Deion ever done anything quietly?
Great point.
There's no way that this is not going to leak out, be a story, because they're not saying which teams, because we don't know the draft order yet. And also, I get where he's coming from a father standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to see your son go to a bad organization. But at the same time, I mean, how do you know?
How do you know if the franchise is going to work out or not?
It's going to work out or not. You could have, what do they say? Best laid plans. Like back in the day when Eli Manning did this, the Giants were very different. Would you want to go to the Giants now? No way.
I feel like Deion lives in Texas, right? He's from Florida, lived in Atlanta. I feel like geography is going to be a big deal here. Maybe Carolina.
But that's a terrible reason. It's a terrible reason because Carolina is the dumps as far as an organization, not the city, but just football-wise.
I know, but maybe Deion thinks, hey, this is a blank slate. We can improve. Dave Canales seems like possibly a promising coach. I don't know. It's better. It's the best I got. Then again, Deion did go to Boulder, Colorado, which is quite cold. What would you pick a team based on? Because if you're looking at a top 5 team, they're only in the top 5 because they stink.
Exactly. So I don't know if you can really make this perfect. You know? And let's be honest, it took 2 out-of-nowhere runs for the Eli Manning New York Giants thing to become a thing. Eli never won another playoff game outside of those 2 Super Bowl runs.
I know, and the Chargers got Phillip Rivers, who was a Hall of Famer.
Which is crazy, right? Anyway.
Know what he drives? A minivan. No. There's only one way to say that.
That is true. Thank you, DJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez, Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Weedos, the coffee drinkers. You guys were great on the phones today as well. The greatest fictional fight of all time. We'll be back tomorrow to break down some football for you.
Maybach.